cool in here.
I'm gonna get a sign that just says not a sponsor.
Yeah, until they are a sponsor, and then we're doing it.
That site doesn't have it. But
Excuse me.
Bless you. Well, that's in the live feed.
yeah, I'm just gonna start intimidating him.
Bandango. I got to pull up my notes as well. I have notes in two different places, handwritten and on the thing.
Blood written.
Yeah.
Carved into your flesh.
Yeah, I just write them right here. You ready to slate?
Yes.
All right. 1, 2, 3. Syncing the sound. That was the best one we've had yet, I think.
There we go. The live sound kicked in. Sorry about that.
We're
Like a minute
good.
5.
Oh, yeah, we were
So
live.
I have all the lights on, and I have a lamp over here pointed at me right now. So
Yes.
hopefully I won't turn into a silhouette in about 2 hours.
So by the time we get towards the end, we know we've talked too long because you're completely dark. Yeah.
Welcome, YouTube, that I'm monitoring. Sorry, Facebook.
I got the Facebook monitoring going.
You got the Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll take
It's just
a look.
me talking to myself on YouTube. That's how it goes.
Looks like we got good connection. We got sound coming from everywhere. I think we're good to go. Yeah.
Noise.
Looks nice. So, big update in the world of movies. Have you guys been following the Justice League meltdown that's going on Twitter and Facebook and everything? So,
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, ever since the Zack Snyder cut was announced, the actors are starting, and people are starting to come out and talking about how awful Joss Whedon is to work with. Yeah. So first one I think is Ray Fisher, and then you're seeing a few people kind of follow suit. But a real anti-Whedon sort of thing going on right now. A little bit of the cancel culture, I think, and people kind of emerging from the woodwork, making it happen. But it's interesting considering that we just talked about it a couple weeks ago, and that wasn't even in the news yet.
That's not. It makes you wonder how bored are you that you don't understand that if you want to continue to work, this is not the train to jump on.
Right.
It's kind of like, have you seen the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner?
Oh,
yeah. He's the GM of the Cleveland Browns.
I watch it every week.
Just to
you should.
refresh
It's actually
yourself.
super good. But
It is a good movie.
there's a part of that movie that makes me think about this all the time. It's when he, if you haven't seen the movie, so he snakes the number 1 draft pick from the Seattle Seahawks, and then squanders it away, like all the rest of it away. And when he does that, their number 1 defensive prospect goes on Twitter and says, I guess, so and so has his head up his ass or something like that. And the line that Costner delivers is, just stay off. I need you to stay off social media because right now all you're doing is showing every other general manager that you can't keep your mouth shut.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, that's this right here. Like, you may have issues with weed. You may have problems with certain things, but right now you got to shut your mouth.
Yeah.
Just got to.
Because right now, being the mouthy one is not going to get you hired. I don't care who you are.
Might make
Especially with Ray Fisher, because I don't think he's done anything else before Justice League. I mean, maybe after Justice League, but
yeah, after.
I don't see him on a lot of one sheets. So
yeah. I don't think there's a lot of work. I mean, obviously nothing going on right now, but it is an interesting thing. We saw it with like the Harvey Weinstein stuff, and you're going to see it when these sorts of things happen where people sort of emerge from the woodwork and start to say, oh yeah, he does suck. But imagine if, and I'm a boss, and I'm a boss when, usually when I'm on set and all that kind of stuff as well. And just imagine if like everybody's job was on the level where people could just start tweeting that, Nick thought the code I wrote sucked. He's really difficult to work with. It would get real old after a while.
I mean, I would do that.
Yeah. I always think about that. People get annoyed with athletes when they're in their press conferences that they won't say much or whatever, especially after losses. It's like, can you imagine after a 12-hour shift at the factory if there are reporters waiting outside for you as you walk to your car and they want to be like, what happened? What happened with those pHs? Like, what happened there? Why did they spike so high? Do you have any idea? Can you explain that to it? Every job is like, Eric, what happened with that rental? Like, did you not see that they were not going to return the Santa Claus suit? What was the deal there?
Yeah, you didn't see all those red flags. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I always love it too when they talk to people like right after the game.
Yeah.
So most professional sports is very physically demanding.
Yes.
So not only have they been doing it for like 4 hours, they're exhausted, they're tired, and if they lost, their communications major is not going to come out the way you want it to.
Right.
No, I
Especially
like
if
the-
it's like a Super Bowl loss
Right.
with
Yeah.
a young quarterback.
So how
Yeah.
did it feel? Where did you think you guys went wrong? I'm pretty sure we didn't score enough points, and they did.
Bottom line.
Moving on.
Yeah, I've been in sessions before where I'd make a mistake or something, and whoever's sitting behind me, whoever, producer, client, whatever, they're like, I don't know why that's there. I'm like, well, clearly I fudged up. So there's
Give me a minute. I'll circle back.
Yeah, it's like you don't need to like make a thing out of it. Like, yeah, I made a mistake, but I'm going to fix it. Stand by.
Oh, speaking of, this is a fun thing I was thinking about today. I'm going to go all over the place before we actually talk about Inception.
Do it.
But on my run this morning, I was listening to our Space Force podcast.
Yes.
And this wasn't all in one line, but about the hour and 45-minute mark, we talk about like the missed opportunities of jokes and how they just they botch them all. And it hit me as we were running because I had that weird runner's high. But we were talking about the spilling the ice cream in the Maybach and how the joke was, why does it smell like baby puke in here?
Yeah.
I came up with the perfect joke, which you're probably going to be like, it's not funny, but it's funny. They made the whole thing about the ants in the colony. How funny would it have been if she's like, why are there ants in here?
Just all the ants done. Tie in.
That's my joke.
Yeah.
That's it.
It would have worked. It would have even been better if it was ants in an episode of Archer, which they clearly stole it from.
Right.
Yeah,
Or if
it
it-
just would have been
would
better
it-
if we just watched Archer instead.
Or if H. John Benjamin would have been like a guard or something on the base, and he was there just to
You
deliver
want
that
ants?
line.
That's how you get it.
That's how you get ants. And like,
And then he looks at the camera and goes, "Hi,
yeah,
please
and I
hire
would
my face."
have like
Sorry.
rated that show so much higher if they would have done that.
Yeah, there would have been some moments, kind of like when Arrested Development would throw in some people had what's his name who did the voice of Homer Simpson, playing a doctor who accidentally left something inside of Job,
That-
or no, he
Yeah.
put the thumb on the
He
wrong.
was purposefully doing things
Yeah.
to people. Yeah, like, yeah, I just swapped your fingers.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and
First person in the world with this.
and this is zoomed in on him, and when he made a mistake, and he goes, "Doe," where he does Homer's line but completely wrong. Like that's great.
Yeah. I don't want to make that a recurring segment because clearly we don't screw up in the podcast. But
No.
as I was running, I just like, how did we miss that joke?
Right.
How did we miss the ants joke?
I think we had a little bit of anger towards the show, so we weren't really
Some vitriol.
Yeah, we'd already rewritten it a few times.
We were all pretty keyed up when we got on.
Oh yeah.
So the
Talk
real
about that one.
question is, are we being incepted to think differently about Space Force? And this isn't even happening right now?
It's possible.
Yeah.
Let me fall
No.
back in my chair real quick and see what happens.
Let me give myself a kick.
Yeah. So that's what we watched this week. We all watched Inception. Did everybody see it when it first came out?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I had not watched it till this week.
This is your first time. Ooh.
Ooh.
How fun. I think I even watched it in IMAX back in the day. I think it was IMAX. Yeah, IMAX. Because they didn't do it in 3D. They did it in IMAX, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was
3D have been too early for 3D.
it was too early for like the
No,
good
I think it was an
3D,
option
so-
on the table.
2010.
I think it was an option on the table, and I think Christopher Nolan said, "No way, Jose."
I don't do that
Yeah.
because I'm a filmmaker.
But I will do 72 millimeter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Eric, what was your take on it for a first timer? And you're fresh off the boat right now, aren't you? You
I'm
just
very-
got off it.
I'm-
Yeah.
Fresh out of the van. The van just fell in the water. Here I am.
You just rode the kick back up to reality.
And yeah, now I just got off an airplane as well, and I'm home, and I'm spinning atop, and I don't know what's real, so I might still be asleep.
And black.
I enjoyed it. Again, yeah, like just stopping and not really having time to let things sink in. It is interesting. I started watching it 3 nights ago, and I got like halfway. I got to right where before they got on the plane, and I like stopped because I had to go to sleep, and then I was busy the last couple nights, and so I had my own theory of what the end was going to be. And so then coming back and watching it and going, oh, okay, they didn't do that.
Well, I'm curious then. So you watched it all the way up to the point where they're basically going to get on the plane to incept the idea into the rich son's head.
Yeah.
Okay, and so what did you think was going to happen for the next hour?
Well, I
Hour and a
assumed
half,
this
shit.
whole plot was going to play out just like it did, that they're going to go into a dream, into a dream, into a dream to try and get Cillian Murphy to plant this thought in his head. But my thought was that they were all like detectives trying to get Leonardo DiCaprio to admit to killing his wife, and they're trying to accept into his head the thought that he needs to like come clean or whatever. And so
that movie is called Shutter Island.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't watch that one either. So there we go. Yeah. And Ellen Page was brought in by the police. Like she was the idea that was kind of planted in to get inside of his mind. And so the whole time it's happening, and I'm like,
interesting.
Now she's convincing him to go another level, and okay, here we go. And that didn't happen.
That's really interesting because knowing now what the movie is, it doesn't do that at all. We find out what the deal was with his wife, but the movie doesn't give you, there's no twist in terms of that. Like we find out that the main good guy is actually a bad guy or something like that. Yeah.
Sure.
It's just a delayed payoff. It's the what happened, and then boom, delivery.
Yeah. And still at the end, you kind of go, I don't know. I feel like he's still maybe just trapped in another dream. So.
Right. Oh, well, you're in the fun part about Christopher Nolan movies, that his movies are always like, you try to be the smartest guy in the room 5 minutes after you watch it. And so
I'm not even trying to like overanalyze it. That's where it's like my best example for a Christopher Nolan movie is the Magician one. What's
Illusionist?
That one? No,
The Prestige.
The Prestige. That's it.
Like that one, you guys have all seen it, I'm assuming. Yeah.
Good movie.
So I enjoyed that movie, and for me, I don't overthink it. I go, there's no magic. They're just trying to trick each other. Everyone's just trying to trick each other. There's nothing supernatural. Boom, done. And so with this one, I'm like, no, maybe he got out of it, but the whole thing is telling you, what the hell's reality? Is this a dream? Is it real?
Yeah, that's the fallout of 10 years after the fact. Is you've got people with like PhDs in psychology analyzing it frame by frame, talking about what, like, when and if he ever did escape, or was it way back super early on when he gets interrupted while he's at the sink, and they interrupt him and he drops the top and he doesn't let it like fully spin out. Like, is he then still like, is that the start of it and all the rest of it is just fake? Then there's the theories that because everyone woke up with a kick, but they all wake up at the same time at the plane, and then how everyone just kind of is like really buddy to him as they're getting off the plane, that maybe that's all just BS and like he never got out of it kind of thing. So yeah, there's a lot of of YouTube analysis that has happened about what's really going on, and and that's probably why some people hate it. But that's what I love about it, is that the movies that he makes, one, are a little daring plot wise. Like the idea of Inception is, it's an idea that you have with a bunch of people and you throw it away because it's impossible. Like if you were to pitch Inception to just a random bunch of people, they'd be like, that's not going to work. How are you going to make that happen? But yeah, that sounds boring.
It's more like, that's great for an Outer Limits episode. Cool.
Yeah, right. But not a feature film. Like, how are you going to do it? So he always somehow does that. But then I also love how a lot of his movies do leave that open-ended stuff of like, well, if you look at it from this angle, this is what happened. If you look at it this way, this is what happened. So it has its own little like legs much later on, which I think is good about it too. Because it's one of he also writes it in a way that if you walked up to him and said, what happened? He'd be like, I don't know.
Right.
What do you think happened?
So, so last week when we were talking about doing Inception, Brian, you said that you saw it once, you were blown away. Second time you saw it, you were like, "What is this?" But third time around, or whatever time this was, where are you at now?
Okay, so yeah. I'm very 50-50 on Christopher Nolan. I'm just gonna put that out there. Most of his movies, watch the first two acts, unless it's The Prestige or The Dark Knight. Unless it's Dunkirk, and don't watch it at all because that movie's awful. But you know, like Interstellar was great for the first two acts, and it totally jumps the shark. But anyway, yeah, Inception. I saw it in the theater in all its glory. I'm like, oh my God, this is the most amazing movie ever. If I can make a movie half this good, I could die a happy man, blah, blah, blah. And then I watched it a second time. I'm like, and granted, I think my second viewing was not long after its release. You know, I watched it at home. So this is like probably 2011, 2012. I thought I was pretty awesome, and then I knew what a good movie was, and I thought very highly of myself. I hadn't realized didn't know jack shit yet. And I watched them like, this movie has plot holes all over the place. It's awful. It makes no damn sense whatsoever. And then, so I was always like on the Christopher Nolan like hater train. I'm like, no, he can't end a movie. But then I was like, I watched it this morning and I'm like, okay, this is a really fun movie to watch. It's got some really cool ideas. It definitely falls in my wheelhouse of, you know, the two times in my life where I've tried to make a movie that was all tried to make not in movies, but projects that were originally my brainchild. It was very up my alley, and I like the heady stuff. And I think it's a movie where like you just got to watch it and enjoy it and think about it a little. But if you start trying to poke holes in it, it's going to fall apart. It's a very cool movie. That's some very cool stuff. I really enjoyed it, but I am not going to watch it again because I've got a feeling. Well, then maybe another 10 years. Because like I feel like if I watched it like in the next month or two, I'd be back on this movie's dog shit. But yeah, it like the thing with I think the strongest thing plot. Should we wait?
He's over it. No, just kidding.
Wow, damn! I hadn't even got to the good stuff yet. No, I think there's some really great writing and acting. I mean, I think my favorite thing about the movie plot-wise, which has very little to do with the current mission, is like how he incepted the wife to think her world wasn't real, so they go back to actual reality, and she can't shake that. And the way she orchestrates, well, I trashed the hotel room. And I wrote a letter I filed a letter with my lawyer saying that you were trying to kill me. So I've staged this whole murder scene. So now you really have no choice but to jump off this ledge and wake up with me because I forced you into it. I'm like, that's pretty awesome. Yeah. Like that was some really great writing. I don't know. I enjoyed watching the movie. It's a lot of fun. It's like, say, it's very heady. It's pretty out there. Like I think a lot of times Christopher Nolan is kind of up his own ass. Because he just, again, with Interstellar, he just tries to, like, just what's the weirdest, like, out there thing I can do? You know, it's like that's kind of his thing. And again, sometimes it works, a lot of times it doesn't, in my opinion. But yeah, I watched it this morning. It's like, yeah, I enjoy this movie. It's fun to watch. It's a little different. They play with a lot of stuff, and I feel like, but it's kind of one I think you just need to go for the ride and not. I think it's almost better if you just take it for what it is and not trying to start analyzing it, even though we all do. Because I had a legal pad out earlier, and I'm like drawing the map of, okay, so the first one was Yusuf's dream, and then it was Arthur's dream, and then it was Eames' dream, and then the last one's nobody's dream. It's just, basically no man's land. But all the stuff that Cobb and his wife built is there for some reason, I guess, because he's there, so his mind fills it all in. It's very like, my head hurts. After I watched the movie and I was gonna like try to think about it a little bit, I'm like, I actually said out loud, I was like, I need another cup of coffee first, because I got up at like 6 a.m. this morning to watch it. So,
wow, yeah, I don't know if it's first thing in the day sort of movie. But maybe it is.
Yeah, well,
No.
That's
That's a hard one, man. Shit.
Well, I had a lot of stuff to do today, and I wanted to watch it the day of just so it was fresh. But I'm one of those weird people where I'm kind of firing on all cylinders in the morning, for some reason. But yeah, I mean, and I did some reading online, and some things like I was almost gonna watch it again, and like watch it more to analyze it, but I was like, no, I'm kind of on a high about it, so I feel like if I watch it again, I feel like if I watch it again to try to start making sense out of it, like watching it and like taking more notes and like trying to find more things just going to piss me off again. So,
and that's what's kind of interesting though, is that we, as guys who have made movies and been part of making movies in a lot of different ways, that to a certain extent the script does make sense, right? End to end, it makes sense somewhere, whether it's maybe not on the page, maybe not in the final product, but definitely in the mind of the writer or the filmmakers to a certain extent. Because I was thinking a lot about the Guardian, which is something that Brian and I made a while back, and something that you wrote, and maybe we'll show the world someday. But well, Nico, you've seen it. Yeah. So, and what I thought was interesting was, it could be, there's a lot of questions that people ask after they do see it. Who's this? Who's that? What's their role in the story? But
why is she wearing a bra in the bathtub?
Things like that. Well, there's, what do you call that? Modesty rules or whatever. But Brian and I probably, we had hours and hours and hours of conversation about the script, not only between each other, but also with the actors and stuff like that. And so by the time we came to shoot it, it made perfect sense to us. We knew exactly what we were doing. We knew exactly who these characters were and what their purpose was. And that was a 20-minute short film, not a 2-hour and 45-minute, movie that you're asking the audience to go on this ride and to understand things. So it makes sense somewhere.
Yeah, and honestly, when I watched it this time, I understood it way more than I ever did before. And I when I watched it the first couple times, I was obviously younger. I wasn't as fat back then, so I thought a little more highly of myself. And I was like, no, this is a terrible movie. And I kind of wasn't shy about letting everyone know my opinion. And if I came off like a little bit like a dick, that's probably even better. So yeah, when I watched it, it's a fun movie to watch, and I like that it makes you think. And I kind of think in my opinion, at least for me, that's the best way to watch it, is just enjoy it. And again, I always say, like, it was enjoyable to watch. And I think that's like the number one thing a movie should do, is entertain. So yeah. And it makes a fair amount of sense that I've watched it. There's not, there's plot holes, but there was nothing completely glaring to me this time. Although again, when I was thinking about how they're all writing the kick up, I spent a lot of time like, wait, but if she's fallen, it's wait, what?
Yeah.
But like I said, I spent probably a good hour on that this morning trying to go, I'm so confused. And like when they are trying to use a defibrillator on Cillian Murphy's character and it creates lightning in the lower level, it's like, okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, I'm sure it made complete sense. And like Nick said, Nolan is not shy from leaving things up to interpretation. Sometimes that's probably intentional. Sometimes it's probably like they're cutting the movie and like, screw it, who cares? That's not we don't need to answer that question for this to be a good movie, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and then part of that stuff too, he does what I like, where he just drops you into a world and says, here are my rules, and we're moving forward. So I love it that he does that. But excuse me, where he got into trouble with this one, and it's really only upon second or third plus watching, is when they start going into the multiple, and they're trying to figure out like how much time is left. They talk about like
each level is
1 hour is a week in this one, which is then a month, which is then 10 years and all this fun stuff. And when they're going through some of that, I think they just worked themselves into a little bit of a dialogue hole because they were at one point they talk about Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character has 3 minutes before the kick, and in those 3 minutes he's weightless. So in those 3 minutes he figures out the weightless problem, wraps up all the people, moves them down the hallway, rigs and blows an elevator, gets inside the elevator, rigs the other side, and then waits for that second. Like, no, like, and that's where it's like, maybe just leave any specifics of like he's got 3 minutes. Just don't say that.
Yeah.
Just say like he's running out of time. Oh, okay, good. I feel the pressure, and not like going, that's more than 3 minutes. It took you 5 minutes just to walk down the hallway at a normal pace. There's no way you pushed a bunch of floating bodies in 3 minutes and did all that pyrotechnic. Yeah, no.
So, Nico, did you have like 5 different stopwatches? And were you like, okay, let's see.
Well, no, it's funny
because
there is
tying up your Funkos.
There is a video where a guy took all the clips from the first under. And he's got them in a square, so I'll try to do it. So like here's the first level, here's the second level, third level, fourth level, and he's got them all synced up. But because it's not perfect, of course, sometimes this one's running at normal pace and this one's running super, super, super fast. But then this one's running at normal pace and this one's like super, just because of the way that it's edited. But he did do it at the very, very end, so it's like eyes, like you can watch them go up the kick, which is it's really well done. And it's like a 7-minute video. It's super good. But I did, after the first time I watched it, I was like, wait a minute. They're talking about like years and how, especially when they designed the map, which I know that they designed it before all the snafu happened. But the guy who is critically injured and Cillian Murphy need to ski across a mountain, rappel all the way down, and then go through this like elaborate system to get into the vault. And he's like, did you build in a shortcut? Well, like, yes. I mean, I know you do the math and it's like, you planned that to take a day and now you've got an hour. Like,
it's fun. Okay, it's a funny, I liked I mean, obviously it made for an interesting world because they couldn't just put everything on the beach. Everything couldn't just be tropical. But it was funny that, like, okay, we're going to build a world and architect a thing that is, the finale of a Bond movie. Yeah, it's like, that's just a lot.
I think
Look cool,
the biggest thing I struggle with the dream and whose dream it is, and their subject is the one that fills in with their subconscious. Like, as I said early on, it's like, you want to find someone's secrets, build a dream that has a bank vault in it, and automatically that person is going to fill it with their secrets or whatever. And it's like, so when they kidnap the Robert Fisher, Cillian Murphy's character, and, when especially to get to that last level, like, they said their mark will fill in with their secrets. Well, what if he doesn't? What if one of the other 6 people they could take into the dream fills it instead? Like, how does that work? And I think that's kind of one of the things where it was just kind of like, just go with it. But that's why I kept struggling with. I'm like, okay, so she's the architect, but like it's not her dream, huh?
Yeah, and I think when it's tricky because the first introduction to the concept is 2 people. It's a 1 and a 0, right? So there's the dreamer and an architect. So it's the architect's dream, and the subject is filling it. So that's a 1-0 scenario. But once you start getting like additional people in there, then it's no longer a binary scenario. And that's how like Molly keeps showing up, and they're constantly questioning like who's responsible for this, or because it's now you're adding competing subconscious
Well, but it seemed like it's just DiCaprio's character that's bringing extra baggage in, right? And that's why Ellen Page,
a little bit. I mean,
she's like, hey, we're all ready to go in here. We're not going to bring crap in, but you are. So I got to keep my eye on you.
And they try to address that with his his instability, or the fact that he's already gone down to that bottom level and come back up. So he's fractured a little bit already. I do love Tom Hardy's character. Is that right? Tom Hardy? Yeah, his character in the first level, the rainy level, when Joseph, because I would watch any movie with Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Tom Hardy as like a buddy cop thing. I would, I will, I don't care
It's
if they're
great.
rescuing like rescue animals. I'm watching it, but I love it that like Joseph Gordon-Levitt was obviously trained and worked with like a SWAT team or some members because he had like technique and stuff, and he did some really good cover and clear type stuff. And then Tom Hardy just walks in with the line that says, "Just need to be more imaginative, darling," and pulls out a grenade.
Yeah.
You mustn't be afraid of dreaming a little bigger, darling.
Yeah, so good. It's just
but then that's super restrained because Tom Hardy's going around being like, now I'm this guy, now I'm this lady, and everyone else is just like seems very strictly bound to what's happening. And it's like, why doesn't everyone just all of a sudden, I need a jetpack, you know?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think
But I get that it's like, you don't want to.
Yeah.
you don't want to tinker with
you're
reality
opening
because
up.
then the subconscious attacks.
I'd be
right?
sending
right.
dinosaurs in and stuff.
Velociraptors.
Yeah, why not? I love the concept though that so one thing that's cool about this world is that we're dropped into a world that already has its own rules, and while it's explained to a certain extent, it's not, because we've already established that Inception, or that what was the name of, was it Extractors? Yeah, that extracting is already a business. It's like a known business. It's a known art and craft. And so people,
enough that there's a security force opposing extraction.
Exactly. So people's subconscious are being trained to fight them off, and so it manifests in the form of basically heat like urban battles and stuff. So it's a cool idea, and that's one of the things I love about the movie is that the world is already built for us when we go in, and while it's explained via exposition, it's also kind of you just have to accept it, that we're living in an alternate reality in this movie where this just exists, that people who are high profile or high, someone who would be high risk, head of corporations or whatever, could potentially be susceptible to this sort of thought manipulation and stuff like that. So I really like that part of it. But the one thing too that struck me was that when you think about Inception, the first thing you think is all the building, like Ellen Page's thing where she flips the world on top of it. You always think about that stuff. But watching it through again, the effects, there's not that much of it. There's really not that much heavy special effects. And they don't really drive the story. And that's the kind of the interesting thing, is it's the relationships that drive the story. And really it's all about Mal and Dom. Like that's the whole story. And then there's a little bit of that cool world bendy sort of stuff, the explosions and stuff like that. But there's not much of it. And that's what I thought was interesting, because that's what I remember of it. But watching it back
that's
again,
what the trailer tells you. The trailer says, you're in for a crazy mind bend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and while that's certainly an aspect, it's not really what it's about.
Definitely.
Well, it becomes, I feel like this whole movie is a framework so that he can go, I want to have a Heat style shootout, and then I want to have a James Bond ski chase, and then I want to have a this and that. And it's like, it's kind of like his brother making Westworld. I feel like, it's all very connected, that this is how they're thinking, and this whole fascination with time, and how that he does that with Dunkirk. It's like, okay, this thing's happening at this pace, this thing's happening at that pace, and this is happening in 1 hour.
Yeah, I feel like some of the giant set pieces maybe came a little bit because he made this between The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, so I feel like he was maybe a little bit on the I love shooting this Batman kind of stuff. So, but
The Dark Knight is with the Joker, yeah?
Yeah.
And Dark Knight Rises is Bane?
Yes.
Okay, I couldn't remember. So that makes a lot of sense, though. I love his stable of actors, though, that he kind of consistently goes back to, and in particular Tom Hardy is just a great... What was cool is 2010, so this movie's 10 years old now, that Inception, with Leonardo DiCaprio notwithstanding, because he's just always been popular, it's this hotbed of people who were like smoking hot in the moment. Joseph Gordon-Levitt was probably at the peak of his popularity. Ellen Page as well, and then get Michael Caine. I guess he was doing the Alfred thing as well around that time. But a lot of people who were just like, and Ken Watanabe, because I think Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon had kind of put a lot of different different Japanese actors on the map for Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it that he saw? I forget which movie Nolan saw him in that he wanted him so badly for this. But so it's this like really cool like moment in time movie where all of these actors who were just super hot at the time, but they're a great cast together. The acting across the board was killer. Yeah. Tom Hardy's, he's amazing.
Yeah, I really liked him in this one. Just he had great charisma and he was very, very fun
I think
character.
the one time Christopher Nolan didn't cover his face. Didn't cover Tom Hardy's face.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Bronson? Oh, really? Oh, what? Nobody?
Is that the one where they're twins?
No, that is where Tom Hardy plays himself or plays twins.
Yeah.
Legend, I think, is that's what that one is.
Oh,
where he
okay.
he plays brothers who are kind of crime bosses in London.
Yeah.
In the 60s or something. That's a good movie too. No, Bronson is where he plays this British or Irish guy who was sort of one of the most dangerous criminals at the time. But it was because he was in prison. So basically the whole movie takes place in prison and he just beats the hell out of everybody all the time. Like that was Bronson, the real life person's thing, is he just beat people up in jail like constantly. It's really good. And it was right...
Was that right after Warrior when he was all jacked?
Yeah, it was around that same time. It was, I think, 2006 or 2008, somewhere along those lines. But it's vintage Tom Hardy. You got to check it out. Maybe we'll do that for a show. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's very British too. It's you got to go with it with a lot of British movies that where you just got to go, all right, I'm doing this. I'm committing to this movie. But so the thing too. I am a huge believer in studier of the sort of quantum theory of reality, essentially, quantum physics and quantum mechanics and everything, and I think that's one of Christopher Nolan's sort of through lines, but specifically in Inception and specifically in Interstellar, is that idea of, is reality because we're experiencing it, or is reality because we've created it? And so that's the question that's always being asked in Inception is, are you experiencing a reality, or are you the one driving it and creating it? And I think the movie ends with the idea of, does it matter in a way? Because here he ends up in the States, back at home with his kids. He finally gets to see them. Does it matter if he's living in his reality or in actual reality? Did he create this reality? Is everyone in it real or not? Or does that even matter? And I think that's the question that gets asked. I did no research though. Is there like a common idea, as Christopher Nolan ever said? Is he in real life at the end or not?
He's a replicant. He finally came out and admitted.
Finally. It took him 10 years. Yeah.
I want to say I read something or heard something at one point where there was rumor of a deleted scene where, and it could have been a fan film, who knows with the internet, but there was footage of the top like wiggling and then straightening back up and not tipping over. And then somebody leaked footage of the top falling over. But I don't think he would ever say, to be completely honest, just because the attention to detail to certain aspects of the dream creation leave it to either, yes, this all happened and that's the real world and whatever. But then there's certain parts where, like, when he's walking through the airport, it's not airport sounds. It's like an orchestra. Like, it's this fake happy music. And they also do the part of not showing you how they got there. So where they talk about, like, do you remember in the dreams how you're somewhere, but how did we get here? That whole ending is all that. Like, they don't show them landing. They don't show them. It's just happy place, happy place, happy place, happy place. Yeah. They don't show that. And then, everyone kind of giving him cheeky looks. But then, people would say, oh, when he goes under with Ellen Page, when she kind of creeps into his world, that's when it became permanent. Or like, and I just caught it this time super early on. I can't remember exactly what happens. I think it's when he's testing the compound and Maul shakes him up, and then Watanabe's character busts in on right when he spins the top, and he doesn't get a chance to let it finish. It like falls off the sink. So people are like, oh, that's what it is. So he's in Yusef's basement right now, still knocked out on like the super drug.
Interesting.
I think when that happens. So I don't think he'll ever definitively say, because once he does, then the discussion's over. You know what I mean? So it doesn't hurt to leave it open, because you can go back through and like I said, there's a lot of good stuff to look at and pick up, and even just conceptually, it's such a good idea conceptually of, it's almost like, it has the same interest as time travel, but it's almost like time travel forward.
Right.
You know, like you're allowing yourself more time to accomplish in less time in reality. So like, it's like the Groundhog Day thing. Like if you want to learn to play the piano, go 3 layers deep and learn to play the piano. And then when you come back up, you know how to play the piano, which they never get into that of like, that's probably like a whole nother area of, is this stuff that you experience, do you take that, do you retain that and pull it back out? Because I think there's one point where Ellen Page, they're on the snow base, and she says those are his projections, right? Or those are parts of his mind, his subconscious. He says yes. He's like, are you literally wiping this guy's mind? He's like, no, they're projections. Like, I don't know. That's a real good question.
Yeah.
Like, did he just forget the words to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? What's going on?
Yeah, right. It's interesting. That was the thing, though, too. There were clues along the way, and even from basically, I mean, I may as well have been just watching it for the first time again when I watched it the other day, because I didn't remember anything. But that was a distinct moment in the story where the whole idea of a totem was that it was something that you were supposed to have in your possession. No one else was supposed to see you use it, so that nobody could replicate it. But Ken Watanabe's character interrupts him using it, which is kind of the only time I think that happens.
Oh, and he touches it when they're in like his little, when they're in like the 5th layer down and they're in his like palace. He's got his gun and his totem, and he's touching it, and he's like, I once knew a man, kind of thing. So that's where it kind of all falls apart a little bit too.
Yeah.
But Cobb shows his totem to Ariadne, and then like Arthur shows his totem to her. They just said you're not supposed to let anybody else touch it, because only you know the weight and feel of it.
You know, it's funny. Total side note, I'm the worst at knowing people's names in movies. I'll know the actors' names, but I'm the worst.
I do that sometimes.
And so I was reading some stuff up today, just kind of was seeing what the internet says about Inception, and it was talking about Ariadne, and I was like, who is it? Who is this person? This French or something person with a weird name. It never occurred to me that Ellen Page, I kept on calling her Kitty Pryde in my mind when I would see her on the thing.
Yeah, that's her name?
Yeah, that's her name.
I thought you were talking about the dude that was driving the van.
That's Yusef.
I have interesting facts
that's curly
about
hair
the
guy.
names, though.
Go on. I'm listening.
Well, Ariadne is the Greek woman who guided Theseus out of the labyrinth. Maul is French for bad. Eames, which is Tom Hardy's character, was 2 American architects / designers. So he got a little creative with the names.
Yeah.
But Cobb apparently means nothing.
I think Dom means something. It's another like French word for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there are a lot of those, and I think that one of the things I was reading up on was, because I was really confused by the numbers. So how was this random set of numbers that Cillian Murphy came up with, how was that actually the combination? But what's interesting, I think that the room numbers of the hotel in that level are the 2 sets of those numbers. And then I think that it pops up, the train and the train and the car's license plate are the first 4 numbers, something like that, flipped or something like that. Or they have some significance.
Not in the Rainy City, because the numbers didn't come out until the end of Rainy City.
Okay. Well, but
you're right about the hotels.
Yeah, but I don't know if he was suggested or how he came up with those, because the numbers came up before they went into the hotel, didn't they? 'Cause
Yeah,
he
yeah,
just
yeah.
randomly set them in
Right. So
He
right.
set them in the first
in
stream.
P-Town.
Yeah, he says, tell them instinctively what the first numbers that come to your head, and he just
Yeah.
rattles them off.
Yeah.
And then, they do show up, which is a thing that's like a second viewing type thing that you pick that up, that it's the numbers that the girl gives him at the bar. It's the hotel room numbers, which in a normal hotel, those two rooms would not be on top of each other.
Right.
And then, it's the combination of the safe later on. And you're right. It does show up in one other location.
And what I read was that the numbers meant nothing. It would have
been
the fact
other
that they
numbers
came from
if he
him.
had said
Yeah.
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's his subconscious creating that reality moving forward. So then they just keep propagating.
Yeah.
So my assumption is.
Yeah. That makes sense. But another killer performance, Cillian Murphy. He's so good. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's nice to see him like as a likable kind of I want to say vulnerable person, not some weirdo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's not playing the Scarecrow
Yeah.
or a version thereof. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Marion Cotillard's character too. I was watching it. Well, no, sorry. So I was watching it, and the kick song that is used throughout is what's her name?
Be off.
It's
Yeah,
La Vie
Edith
en Rose,
Piaf.
right?
Yeah, it's a song. It's not that song, but it's I think one kind of maybe I don't know from the same album. or
Same
whatever.
artist.
Yeah, but yeah, and I was like kind of watching it, going like, why is this making me feel weird? Because Marion Cotillard's in this movie, and that song keeps playing. Like this is kind of weird. And then it like dawned on me that she played Edith Piaf in like the biopic, probably just a couple years after that or whatever. So kind of an interesting little thing. But she has an amazing voice, like speaking voice.
yeah.
She would go from like the sweetest, kindest woman to almost sounded like the Wicked Witch sort of. Yeah. Oh man, it was so good. Like that range of her voice was really distinct suddenly when I watched it this time around.
And even her face, where it's just
Yeah.
like when she turns around to Ellen Page, when Ellen Page goes down to the basement, and it's the anniversary at the hotel.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Why are you here?" Ooh.
Yeah. It's crazy. But yeah, good movie. I think it holds up pretty well 10 years later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't look
Yeah, it
dated.
didn't feel
they don't-
dated.
They don't lean on anything, so they're not using iPhones or
The
like
technology isn't
right.
important.
It's all
just
neutral.
a means to get there. It's not like check out this thing and we're gonna
Yeah.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah, well, even
Would've
the
been cool.
device is just it's a metal gray suitcase with a squishy button
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
and IV tubing. Everyone uses that, or even they almost went like backwards by having like an apothecary where he makes his own compounds, because it's like, well, God, that's years ago in reality. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
that's
timeless
true.
thing. It's not like a pill or like a patch or like it's a compound. It's just a chemical compound.
I think the only thing that will date it a little eventually is just the cars, and there's so little
Right.
of that.
Yeah.
Well, then they're all, for the most part, fake cars. Like they're all dream cars, except for like when he's in Mufasa and
Is that your dream car? A taxi? I'm sorry, Nico. You need a dream bigger.
Well, they don't exist
Darling.
anymore.
well, situationally, it's like
You
play
mustn't be
Grand
afraid
Theft
to dream a
Auto, you need
little
to pick up a
bigger,
discount.
darling.
But
Yeah, right.
although Hyundai was a sponsor of the movie, and so they had the brand new like Hyundai sedan or whatever when it came out, the Genesis or whatever it was. So that one pops up every now and then here and there, which is pretty funny. The one thing too, though, there were, I mean, I was totally enjoying every minute of it, but there was one moment where, so when Dom goes to see Tom Hardy's character and they're sitting in the bar and they're saying, well, we'll get going once you lose your tail, darling. And he's like, my tail? And they look over and is like, yeah, the other white guy in a suit, the only white guy in a suit.
paper upside down. Like,
Right? Like looking at him completely like you would look at someone if you were in a dream. It was hilarious. I was like, get out of town with that. And then more guys in shiny suits chasing after him and stuff. It was hilarious. Like that was the one, because if you're gonna send operatives to go capture someone, you might want them to blend in a little bit with the background.
100%.
Maybe hire some locals. I bet they'd be cheaper. Do something different. Yeah. But that was the one moment in the movie where I was like, that was kind of a #fail.
Yeah, a little bit of an oversight there.
Yeah.
Well, I guess if you want to talk about dating the movie, the fact that Cillian Murphy in whatever level when he's like, taxi!
Yeah, in the rain.
In the taxi.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
Instead of just ordering an Uber. Well, I feel like a guy on his level, too, would just have his own black car. So I didn't really get that part either, that he was asking for the taxi.
Oh, yeah, no, that's the thing. He takes his private elevator down to his private garage.
Yeah.
Where his driver picks him up and then he leaves.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're about to corner the market on energy, you don't drive yourself.
You don't stand on the corner when it's
cab.
raining and wait for a cab. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you pay a driver to sit in a car all day just in case you need to go somewhere. You pay a pilot to sit in a plane all day just in case you want to fly somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's how that works.
Yeah. I'm going to let the rain fall on me in my $7,000 suit. Come on.
Well, did you guys
$500 wallet.
catch why it was raining in the city?
Yeah, because
that's
he had
good
to
stuff.
pee.
Yeah, I was like,
the dreamer had to pee.
It's super good too because
funny.
when you watch him on the plane, he's in the background and he's going after the free champagne. I think he literally sip, needle.
Yeah. There were a couple of moments. I mean, not that we don't need to poke holes or whatever, but that was another thing too, where they kind of arranged this whole thing with the flight to LA and had figured it all out how they were going to get him onto a commercial flight and buy it out. And then when they decided Ellen Page was coming along, he said some weird line like, buy us another ticket on the plane. I was like, I thought you already bought the plane, but it was kind of weird.
He bought the airline, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that.
Joke. Yeah, can you get us a plane? I already bought the airline. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Bruce Wayne.
It just feels a little bit like they were all their brains were fried from writing all of the crazy dream stuff, and they got to that dialogue and they're like, whatever, who cares?
We need to get from point A to point B as easy as possible, and so they just do it. Yeah, and I think that happens all the time. You just get exhausted by having to link everything together. Let's just take the shortest line between 2 points and just get there.
But yeah, I'm actually really, really happy that I watched this movie again. I have a lot more appreciation for it now. And like I said, it's not hard.
You evened out, it seems like. You started on a mountain and then you went in a valley and now you're like, okay, I
enjoy the movie a lot. We keep going back to Blade Runner, but I feel like, in 20, 30 years, this movie will be thought of a little bit like Blade Runner in a sense. It's a much better movie than Blade Runner, but it's kind of like one of those, if you're a film buff, especially if you're a sci-fi buff, you gotta watch Inception.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be thought of a little bit how Blade Runner is.
Definitely.
I think Inception was even way more successful than at the box office than Blade Runner was. Mm-hmm. But I feel like it's gonna be thought of a little bit that way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and it's definitely because he has now stretched the boundary of that genre a little bit. So how many movies do you watch now where you're like, oh, it's like an Inception, it's automatically, or it's like, oh, it's just like The Matrix, it's now created a new space, and everyone, since he's basically told the story, everyone's either copying or modifying the story, which is how it's going to be, for a bit. And then even he's doing it himself, which one of the reasons I think we're talking about this too is because Tenet is about to come out,
right? Which
is the very similar thing where you watch the trailer, so you watch the trailer for Inception and you're like, what Matrix world about to get into? What's happening? And then you watch the trailer for Tenet and you're like, so are they traveling back in time? And then it's just, what is this crazy universe that he is about to toss me into that's going to be featured for 10 minutes and then there's going to be a whole other movie?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, because this trailer's just telling you this specific.
Because the trailer's the look at the cool stuff that
when is the movie even done yet? I don't even know if it's complete, or at least when the first trailer came out.
It was supposed to come out in
July.
Yeah.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
but they keep pushing it.
Yeah.
Because they
The
don't.
rent's due, bitch. Is that the punchline for Tenet?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that Tenet. Yeah. Well,
They were going to call it stimulus check,
refusing
but
to stream it.
They thought that would age poorly.
yeah.
I feel like they just don't want to tank it by putting it on streaming or putting it out in theaters. No one's going to go to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's said he's like refused to stream it because I think it costs too much, like to recoup it.
Yeah, they got to make it back.
Yeah, and I would even argue that this is definitely a movie theater movie.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Like, there's movies that you're supposed to enjoy them in the theater. And it was funny. One of the comments I was going to make about Inception, and probably the same with Tenet, or even any of the Christopher Nolan stuff, is I can't watch them at night when other people are in the house trying to sleep, because his movies are always like, here's the dialogue, here's the special effects, and if they're happening at the same time, you're wrestling with that volume. So I was watching it today, like, let's just call it 30 on my volume, and I'm like, I can't hear what they're saying, so push it up to 40, and then the train busted through the rain city and almost shattered the windows in my house. I was like, oh god, jeez.
The rain scared me so bad because I was watching it, you know, and they're having this conversation, this little thing, and then the train hit, and it made me jump, and I was like, well, come on. I mean, and it's like, it's loud.
Yeah. All his stuff is just, all the special effects are loud. All the action is twice as loud as it needs to be. And it's not. You watch The Dark Knight. I remember I saw The Dark Knight straight up, and then I saw it with my dad in IMAX. And the scene where he's analyzing the bullet shots into the brick walls, I swear, like, every bone in my body just shifted by a 16th of an inch because it was so loud. It just shook your whole body, and it's just like bang, bang. You're like, oh, okay, that's cool, but completely unnecessary to be that loud.
That's when the Star Wars, the original trilogy, got remastered, and then the THX theaters became a thing, and I went and saw Empire Strikes Back, and the laser, like the shots going in, was like that, and because I think that the theater was full when we got there, so we were pretty close to the front, and it was like the Homer's dad thing where my teeth were like shaking and rattling while I was watching it. It's so loud. Turn it up.
Yeah, that is one thing that I got up stupid early to watch this movie. I'm like, I'm waking people up right now with this movie. I live in an apartment building.
Yeah, most definitely.
It does make you want to invest in a nice set of headphones just for out of courtesy sake to everyone around.
Yeah.
Well, I typically watch a lot of movies with my Beats on for that reason, just because I hate struggling with the up and down constantly with it, and even with the new soundbar thing, it's still just there's a voice volume control, which is kind of cool, so it kind of mimics a center channel, which is nice, but it's still I just don't know when that will ever be settled home theater wise where you can actually watch things. But I think maybe even when you go to the theater, there's still moments where your ears are bleeding, and then there's moments where you're like, what did he say?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, that's all super dependent, because that's one of my gripes with Ford versus Ferrari was that there was so much dialogue that was chewed up with engine sounds. Like, he's talking and all I can hear is the accelerator and shifting, and it's like, I know you said something, no idea what it was. But that was probably just the theater I was in. It was just not configured for
maybe
it.
Not. I was having that problem with, guess what? The second season of G.I. Joe. All of a sudden I was like, all the action was really loud and the voices were like way under. I was like, what happened?
Like, that's it. Subtitles.
Rewind.
Subtitles on a cartoon.
Audio mix on this. Did they fire the good guy and hire the
Was this made in the 80s?
Because before those episodes it was fine, and then all of a sudden it was an issue.
Oh, amazing.
You know what's super weird about Skype right now? Nick and Eric, you guys are out of sync, but Matt's still in sync.
Yeah, you guys are in sync for me.
You two are in sync. Nico, you were way had to sync, but now
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
so
a
if I go 1, 2, 3, 4.
you're good with me.
Yeah, you're good. Now you're good.
Okay.
You were a little
No, you're a
behind.
kung fu movie for me.
Nice.
Oh,
That's fun.
I'm not gonna do that.
But speaking of music, there is a moment in Inception where because Hans Zimmer does, I forget what it's called.
Hans Zimmer.
Is it the brown note?
No, that's Michael Bay movies.
Oh.
It's a type of timing, and I forget how it works. I should know this. I used to be a musician, but where you basically create this metronome like constant movement in your music, but it never resolves itself. And so if you watch all the Batmans, Dunkirk, this movie, you name it, anything that he's done, yeah, it's just yes.
Oh yeah, it's like the SNL skit.
Yeah,
like waiting for the beat to drop. Like,
exactly.
nope.
But he'll do that. He'll bring in a French horn. He'll be like, burp, burp, and then somehow it starts over again. So I'm watching the movie, and then after a while, I'm tired. I'm so tired.
yeah, just the music alone is
it's
stressing
just
you and like
driving you so forward, and then finally there's like a rest, and then it starts creeping back up again. It was like, oh man. But Dunkirk, it's even worse. Yeah, you didn't even like Tom Hardy in Dunkirk? Come on.
No.
I thought that movie was pretty good. I think we covered it in the first iteration of the Smoking Hot Nerds.
I was kind of with you. I was sleepy when I watched it, and I was like, I can't tell any of these guys apart.
Yeah.
And that threw the whole movie.
That was
for me.
real weird. It was like, we're going to cast very similar looking white guys with brown hair, cut their hair exactly the same, and then put them in scenes with German guys who look exactly the same as them.
Yeah.
And then it was so it was just this cluster.
And then we're gonna mess with time.
And then we're gonna have a German guy who's pretending to be British, but could you make him blonde? No, like looks like everyone else too.
Look exactly like the main character. The only time you knew who was Cillian Murphy, where you're like, I know him. He's different-ish. Still got the same hair. Yeah.
Is that Harry Styles?
Yeah. Why were you so mad at Dunkirk?
It was just boring, and the whole thing like that, and like the way they were messing with time. That was again, like just Nolan trying to be fudging clever, you know. I'm obviously out of sync with you guys too, because there was a big gap there for your reaction to where I almost dropped the F-bomb.
Oh, funny.
It's so pointless. It's not motivated at all. And the movie was just boring. I'm sorry. Yeah. I don't care about any of the characters at all.
Well, most of British involvement in World War II was pretty boring. They just kind of sat there, got bombed. Yeah. Just kidding. I know, like, they did a good job.
Like, I know that was a big
London just kind of sat there.
70-year-old burn.
Like, I know that's a big event, you know, in World War II history, but the movie, I was so bored. I almost walked out of the theater, but now it's like, no, let's stay. Like, I was like trying to get up out of my seat, and
that's hilarious.
I don't know. And like, let's hire Tom Hardy again. Oh, but he's gonna be a pilot in a plane the whole time, so you know we're gonna cover his face again.
And we're gonna have
my
issue with the Dunkirk, the ending of Dunkirk, and that is just that in particular is that he lands the plane basically in German territory. It's like, you were in a plane, so you know that that's a bad place to land.
Right.
It's
and
not
he
like
was slowly crashing for like 7 hours.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, but but the thing is, it's like it's
could have
not
flown back to England
while he was crashing.
It's like it's not a surprise, man. Don't land in enemy. Like, there's a whole beach full of people trying to get out. Land right there. That's all your buddies. So, and that could be a historical thing. I don't know, but
it could be a Beach Boys song and just take us out nicely.
You know what's funny? When I think about Dunkirk, in my mind, Dunkirk and The Theory of Everything, I can't tell those two movies apart. like I was just thinking about it. Like, wasn't there a scene where that's the one about Stephen Hawking?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's right.
And I was thinking about it. Like, there's a scene, isn't there, where like an airplane crashes into a house? in Dunkirk. It's like, no, that's theory of everything. A person should
Or
know.
The Aviator.
Yeah, you should know those two movies. Tell those two movies apart. But
That babe was amazing in Dunkirk. He's not in Dunkirk.
yeah,
I didn't know they had wheelchairs.
and the girl from Rogue One, she was great in Dunkirk. Wait a second.
Hold on.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah,
she was in
some
theory of
female
everything.
on a boat, right, in Dunkirk, one of the civilian boats.
Maybe.
Who knows?
Well, I caught a little bit of
yes.
the Final Countdown, not the song from the 80s, but there's a movie, I think it might have been late 70s, early 80s, but the premise of the movie is somehow an aircraft carrier gets transported back in time to just before Pearl Harbor, and so they kind of have to make this moral decision, like, should we stop Pearl Harbor or not? It's got Martin Sheen in it.
Oh, boy.
Or maybe Kirk Douglas. See? Antonio Banderas.
Stephen Hawking.
Is this the game that where I'm gonna show you a picture of Julia Roberts, Sandra Bullock, and somebody else, and you're gonna be like, they're all Sandra Bullock. Like,
Yeah.
no. These are 4 different women.
It's hard to tell the 80s apart.
Sammy Hagar. No, none of them are Sammy Hagar.
Well, I could do that. If you showed me Steven Tyler and Mick Jagger, I wouldn't probably know the difference. At this point, especially because they're both just footballs.
Stevie Nicks.
Yeah.
They're both just like your 80-year-old grandma.
Yeah, wrinkly. But the movie opens kind of like this aircraft carrier gets taken back in time, and so it's in the Pacific. And the movie kind of opens on these two like Japanese Zeros, these airplanes flying over these people, these Americans who were just hanging out in their boat. It just like strafes them and just kills all of but one of them. And I was like, this is real violent for the 80s. It was just real drastic in terms of just wasting people in the water just for no reason. Yeah, exactly.
Was it young Martin Sheen? Young Kirk Douglas?
Youngish.
Or old?
It had to have been Kirk Douglas.
was still a bit old.
Had to have been Kirk Douglas because he was like
Okay.
the admiral or the captain. Maybe it was Martin
Okay.
Sheen. Don't know. I'll look it up.
They're very different faces, those two faces.
Are they?
Are they?
Yes.
But the aircraft
1980.
carrier getting transported back through time, I feel like that's a G.I. Joe episode that I saw too.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Is that
Back to Greek times, and then all of a sudden they like trying to allude that Sergeant Slaughter is Hercules. Like the things he does is what builds the myth of Hercules. I'm like, this is wonderful.
Okay, guys, I'm not so crazy. So Kirk Douglas and Martin Sheen are in the movie.
Oh, okay.
So they're both in it. Oh, thank
I feel
goodness.
like I'm watching this movie tonight.
Yeah, you might want to. It's 1980.
Oh, wow.
The poster is amazing. Wow. I wish I could show you guys a poster right now.
Some of our birth year.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
it like that famous guy who does like the very artistic posterized versions?
No, it's a
Cruise.
aircraft carrier in like a vortex tunnel with lightning on it, and the poster says, "This is the USS Nimitz. Where the hell are we?" That's the tagline. And then the other tagline, because there's two,
When
says,
the hell are
trapped outside the boundaries of time and space, 102 aircraft, 6,000 men, all missing. Bum, bum, bum. That's kind of misleading, though, because the movie doesn't take place in modern era, so I don't think anyone's wondering where they are in the movie.
Well, but when they
When
but
they
there
get
has
back.
to be
Oh, it's
the
all
time
from,
they left.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
going, what happened to them? And then the movie
See,
tells
right
us.
there on the top billed actors, Kirk Douglas and Martin Sheen. I'm glad I'm not crazy.
This sounds so like 80s cheesy.
It is, yeah. Well, and I think it's a pretty good movie from what I remember of it. Pretty good movie, but it's,
Just watch it.
effects. Just caught like the first bit of it, and I was like, I should watch this sometime. I think that they might have made a remake, unless I'm thinking of the Poseidon Adventure.
They did remake the Poseidon
Right.
Adventure, yes.
Also a Kirk Douglas. Nope. Martin Sheen.
Did they do that storyline in
James
G.I. Joe
Caan.
too?
James Caan. Jimmy Caan's in that. What's that?
Did they do that storyline in G.I. Joe as well?
Yeah.
Which,
The
yeah.
Poseidon Adventure.
Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah. Well, actually.
No, something similar.
That's in
No,
season 3.
no,
Is that the Baroness and gets trapped
There is, the flag does get sunk, and there's like an antimatter something thing on it, and so they go down. Both Cobra and the Joes are trying to get this antimatter thing, and there's a part of the aircraft carrier that still has air, so they come up, and it's Zartan and his gang, and then some Joes, and then they find this like this Cobra survivor that ended up on the Joe ship, who was the cook, and he went crazy, and he had his own androids, and he took all of them hostage.
What?
It's a wonderful show. They need to make so many live action movies that just rip straight from this corporation.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's wonderful.
So how far along are you on it right now?
Yesterday I finished the last of the original TV cartoons.
Oh wow!
The original. So I started watching the animated movie, and then there's other series I didn't even know about.
But the animated movie, when does that take place in the G.I. Joe timeline of the cartoon?
So it's after there's 2 seasons of the cartoon, and then there's that movie that comes out. So the cartoon was 83 to 86, and then in 87, I believe, is when the movie came out with Don Johnson and Burgess Meredith.
Yes. Did they not use the original, the cartoon voices for it?
The other, no, there's Don Johnson plays a new character, Lieutenant Falcon. I've only gotten 20 minutes in.
So then there must have been more cartoon after that, because Lieutenant Falcon became a thing, and then they had Jinx, the ninja lady with the red suit, and a few other new characters that they worked into.
So there's an 89 show that
I'm
looked
sure
like
they
there
did
was 2
reboots.
seasons.
Yeah,
Nice.
where they just they get a new bank of artists and they spin off a new.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 89 show, just from looking at it, this is all on Tubi. It looks like it's slightly different from the thumbnails. And then there's a 2011 show, probably around when the live action movie came out, that they did another launch.
I think
and
so,
maybe even another iteration. And there's a Snake Eyes movie coming.
Channing
because
Potato Tatum.
Yeah?
People watch G.I. Joe and they go, well, who should we base a whole movie around? Oh, how about that guy that doesn't talk?
Who else should be in it? His brother who doesn't talk. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know, all the potential of all these jackass characters, and they choose the guy who doesn't talk and doesn't show his face.
Well, just the historically highest grossing character on the toy franchise.
Absolutely.
I don't know anybody who didn't have G.I. Joe that didn't have Snake Eyes.
Oh, yeah, you gotta have at least a
Or
version.
2, because one of them just ended up getting busted somehow.
Yeah, because you played with him the most.
Yeah.
I like
And in the
Storm Shadow.
show, he will go in disguise, and he looks ridiculous because he still has his mask on.
Right.
Disguise. And there's one episode, him and Shipwreck, and they go under disguise, and he break dances first off, and then later in the episode, they're in disguise, and he's dressed like Boy George. So he's got a wig on and a big hat and this dress and a coat. It's wonderful.
Are people fooled by this?
This is amazing.
Oh, not at all, because he's still got the still Snake Eyes mask.
Right. Yeah.
With the Boy George outfit. So that's kind of one of my Halloween costumes I want to do. If I ever do Snake Eyes, I'll do that version.
Yeah, a deep cut. That's awesome.
Just to piss on everyone who wants cool Snake Eyes.
Watching this show now, as well as ones you'd watch, I'm like, this was not a kid's show.
Right.
It's very propaganda-y. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I have my pitch for what I would do if I made my live action.
Yeah?
Yeah, Cobra would start their own super progressive news channel, and they would cancel the Joes. They would get the Joes all individually canceled. They would get Shipwreck Me Too'd. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And then so then that's how the world turns against the Joes and says, we need to get rid of the Joes, and then Cobra does whatever they do, and the Joes have to save the day, and everyone goes, oh, I guess we still need the Joes.
Right. Except for Shipwreck. He's gross.
Except for that.
That dirty sailor.
Sad, lonely Shipwreck.
Yeah. Is he lonely in the movie? Or in this series?
In the show, they do some stuff where,
Just
he's
his
always
parrot?
hitting on women, and he's very lonely.
Yeah.
He can't. And there's even one, I'm sorry, we're going on a big tangent, but one of the most amazing episodes is to try and get information from, this is kind of Inception-y, actually.
Bringing it back around.
Shipwreck and Lady J or something are with a scientist who came up with this chemical that can create this crazy explosion with water. It can turn water into like an explosive. So anyways, but they get free. Shipwreck like passes out or whatever. He wakes up and it's like, oh, Shipwreck, or Hector, his real name is, you've been asleep. You were like in a coma and you woke up and here's your wife and kid. And he's like, what? And he's like, wait, what happened? He's like, I gotta get back to the Joes. They're like, the Joes? No, the Joes have been disbanded for years. Cobra got defeated. And so he's like, okay. And he goes home with these people and he's got this wife he doesn't remember and his daughter. And he's like, what? And it turns out it's Cobra has created this fake amnesia that he has. And they've taken this whole island. They've turned it into a town. And they have all these like fake versions of all the Joes, and his wife is actually an operative, and it's like very Total Recall / kind of Inception, and like at the end, because he's like, I don't know why I don't remember you people being married, but then by the end, like the woman turns and like the kid melts or something crazy happens. The house burns down and he's just standing there kind of staring at it. And the real Joes have shown up and they're like, hey buddy, let's go. What's up? And he's just like, nothing. I guess I'm looking at nothing. Wah, wah. Like, oh my God.
Man, this like, of course I haven't seen the G.I. Joe cartoon since I was a little kid, but it is not what I remember.
Gonna have to watch
it. You can probably skip the first 40 episodes, but like right around episode 45 through the end, they're great.
How many are there?
There's like 90 something.
But it's only 2 seasons technically.
The first season is like 50 episodes.
Whoa! And
then the second season it's 30, so maybe it's only 80. But anyways,
What are you watching this on?
Tubi.
Tubi.
TUBI. It's through my TV. It's just like a free app. So
right. That's amazing.
It's all there. But yeah, it's a wacky show. But like I say, you can skip a lot of the first.
Skip right to 41.
The first season.
Skip towards the end of season 1. Yep.
Dang.
So the movies that came out were the most recent one. Is the most recent G.I. Joe movie with The Rock?
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't remember seeing it.
Retaliation. Yeah, because there's the first one that I want to rewatch the first one again because it's campy and wacky, but they don't really commit to going, hey, here's that beloved cartoon. Splat, here it is live action. Yeah. And it's a prequel, so it's like Destro's not Destro yet. He's just this normal looking dude. And I don't know.
I don't want to see
it kind of gets wacky and fun by the end, but then I think it didn't do real well. So then they were like, let's get The Rock and let's make it tough and let's kill most all the characters in the first movie. And you're like, what are you doing?
Gross.
It was interesting to watch too because it was it landed on the bad side of a live action cartoon where like cartoons. Comic books, whatever, they all use like just unrealistic designs so that you can tell them all apart. Like nobody changes their clothes in cartoons, right? They're always just wearing the same clothes all the time, all day long. But in the first live action G.I. Joe, when they show the Cobra Commander put his mask on, we're all familiar with just like the sheer, like the reflective full face mask. They tried to give him some like bioorganic rebreather thing. And it was just like, nope.
Yeah, trying to movie eyes. It's kind of like the Spider-Man suit. It's just a spandex suit. But in the movies, we want to try to make it a real thing or whatever, Yeah.
Well, but even with the Spider-Man movies, you still go, that's Spider-Man. In those G.I. Joe movies, you're like, I don't know who anyone is. Yeah. Until they say their name. And you're like, they all designed all this crap. Did you people watch the cartoon? Because it's all there.
There's 90 toys. Episodes.
Look. They got
there's 90, everyone loves this crap. Maybe one of those people should have made this movie. Yeah.
That's why we're in a good place, I think. Hopefully, we're in a good place with Star Wars now when you got uber geeks making the stuff.
Yeah, it's the right fan films and the execs are learning, give it to the actual people that love this crap.
Yeah. the 40-year-olds who know way too much about it.
Yeah, that have sunk their lives into nothing.
Hey, I'm not 40 yet.
30 to 40-year-old.
Yeah, you're fine, Brian. You're safe.
You're a youngster.
Run away. I think we were at a very... I wonder if like we were specifically at that worst stage where it's like right when that explosion of, hey, we can now have cartoons that are just ads for toys. And it just like blew up just right in our time.
Yeah.
Because while I can look and go, I was a spoiled kid, I go, oh man, you go to every kid's house at my age and it was like everyone had everything. I was like, I had He-Man, and then I also had Ninja Turtles, and I had G.I. Joe, and it's like everyone did.
Yeah. Everything, I was so into G.I. Joe, so I had the command center as well as the water command center. My brother had the space shuttle. I mean, this stuff is not cheap for parents, you know.
Especially then.
Yeah, especially
like,
then.
They were like $75 in 1984.
Yeah, exactly, which is $230,000 in 2020.
Yeah. And then the aircraft carrier. That's like the biggest toy ever.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Like no toy company has made something bigger than that.
Yeah,
that was like
had it. It's like the size of my desk. Yeah, it's just massive. And but it had to be big enough though for the F-16 or whatever. What was it? The F-14 to sit on.
Yeah. Because you could land like 3 or 4 of them on it.
Yeah.
The whole thing was like
fill it with all the other stuff. I gotta buy stuff to stick in it.
Yeah,
you need the
I'm
Tomahawk
not mad at
helicopter.
The but holy crap!
I didn't have a G.I. Joe stuff, but I had like the Bat Cave, and I had for Ninja. I was super into Ninja Turtles, so I had the Turtle Van, and I had like Shredder's like dome thing that was on tracks. Okay, sorry, my dog.
You were that age.
See, Turtles were just a touch late for me, like because my brothers were both into it.
4th grade, 3rd grade,
something like that. And I was right around 6th grade. I was starting to get too cool for toys, and I was into models though. So it was like I was like, well, if I have a model,
Swedish,
it's cool.
Or were you like Eastern Bloc?
Yeah, always. But Swedish brunettes. That's kind of the weird thing about it.
That was me too. I totally was like toys.
Toys.
Yeah, ignore all of this.
Ignore my ocean of geekdom.
Do you have any Inception Funkos?
I looked. They don't have them.
Wow, something that doesn't have a Funko.
Yeah, I know.
It's all like
we have Funkos.
It's true, I guess.
Yeah, we unlicensed. Funkos,
I guess you know all the Funkos have been made once they make Dunkirk Funkos, and then you know
Dunkos.
They all look the same though, except for Tom Hardy. But the rest of them are
just because he has the pilot crap all over him.
But all the same haircut. Khaki uniforms.
Yeah. But no, I'm a man. Inception's a good one. I'm trying to circle this back in.
Yeah, bring it back in.
I didn't realize it was that old. I didn't realize it was 10
I didn't either.
years old. And I think that's just a testament to like, you could just kind of pick it up and watch it, and it's not like laughing at 80s shoulder pads or like they did a really good job of remaining very timelessly neutral.
It's very neutral
in that you can just pick it up and be like, this is still a good movie.
One thing,
like even the technology,
it's one thing that's interesting though, and I'll probably geek out harder on this just because it's like I'm so into it right now. But so Christopher Nolan still insists on shooting his movies on film, and because he feels like film is better, and he always shoots anamorphic, and so it's just a particular look of a movie. But what is interesting is watching the difference between that movie and like Blade Runner 2049, where you've got a guy like Roger Deakins who he loves shooting on digital, but he also loves shooting on like the newest, sharpest lenses. Like he loves capturing everything in the cleanest way possible, and then they can do their manipulations in post. And Blade Runner 2025 was 2045, 49, whatever it was.
Yep,
2049.
Was actually not even shot in 4K. Like it was at most 2K, which is really, really interesting because as crisp and clean as it was because of what they were using, it just looks great. There are some moments, and I'm just kind of noticing this now with movies because of sort of like the level that I'm actually watching them at. Just so much of Inception, close-up shots, certain things like that are just it's out of focus and real soft, and it really throws you off from the continuity of the movie of like those big effect shots or this really intense moment, and then they cut to Leo's close-up and he's all fuzzy and one of his eyes looks kind of weird and like kind of out of it. So it was just kind of weird. What are you laughing at?
No, I'm just imagining it like being really exaggerated. It's just totally blurry.
Yeah.
And the sound, like they forgot to put a mic in.
Yeah. Right.
Which does sound like its points. I'm like, I did the same thing. Wait, what?
Yeah. Like a lot
Every
of
time his intimate moments with his wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what's happening?
Or Ken Watanabe's dialogue. Sometimes you're like, what? What happened?
Hey, what happened?
What happened?
What's a knobby?
Yeah. I'm wondering what is going on. But stuff like that's very interesting. How some directors and filmmakers are just like so set on shooting it one way. And it's like, well, but we're better now. It's better now.
Right.
So,
It's not going to age like, that third year that CGI got really heavy, and now it won't look like the Wild Wild West. You don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Let's do that one next.
Oh,
I haven't watched that one.
Oh, you've never seen it?
Nope.
Yeah,
I saw
wonder.
the trailer. I said, I think I'm good.
Yeah.
I bet it did not age well.
Probably not.
Yeah, no, I wonder if I appreciate the choice of medium, because like capturing on film versus digital, it's a totally different process. Like just even chemically, it's a different process. But I think at some point, at some point, I'm wondering if the money is going to influence the outcome, where it's like it's so cheap, it's going to become so cheap to shoot digital that studios and stuff would be like, listen, I know that you may want this creatively, but I'm about to shave $5 million off your budget, and this is where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Well, it feels like when Star Wars, when that's kind of the thing, is it was a big deal, and it was almost more like that they were going to be able to. It's like, we're going to move backwards and go back to film after the prequels being digital and being such a pioneer for that. Yeah, that like to do that now, it's like, we're going to film.
And those cameras are crazy. The cameras that they use for the Phantom Menace are like the computers they use to send this first space shuttle up. They're just like 8 feet long, and it's like these massive rigs with 10,000 cables coming off of them. And I think even just by episode 2, it changed like drastically just in between those two movies.
Was 2 the first one? 2 was the first digital one.
I thought it was 1. I thought he actually.
No, it was all 3. I'm pretty sure.
Maybe.
I think it was Martin Sheen. Oh,
yeah. It was James Caan.
It's hard saying.
Man.
Yeah.
Do you think like the cute dog will get us more live stream viewers?
I hope so. Hello, cute dog.
You forgot to advertise, so.
I know I didn't put that. out there.
She just was been down here like for 10 minutes, just like begging to get in my lap. So.
Yeah, like, come on.
That's sweet.
Now it's just making it awkward, but yeah.
You should bring Jeff to the studio sometime, and Jeff would bring in a few viewers too. I think he's just.
You'd have
adorable.
to get like an elevated dog bed over your shoulder, though.
Yeah, he doesn't do the lap. He's not a lap dog at all.
Yeah. Not a lap dog.
No, he gets weird if you
He
do
just
try
does
to pick him
literal
up.
laps.
Yeah,
For balls.
he's really in shape. He gets real shaky, and his ears go back. And if you sit him on your lap, he just does this. And like Jeff, like nothing's gonna happen to you. It's just me. Yeah, but
you never know.
He creates his own Jeffy moment.
It's like I don't trust you.
Moment.
Has he been incepted?
Yeah, maybe.
Well,
yeah,
that's another thing that this is a Nick Hill thing. I don't like needles. So the amount of time that these people were just like, oh, 1 second.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
like that got
Were
me
they
watching
needling?
like
totally
it's an
missed
IV.
that, like every time.
They jam like an IV in there.
I don't think they showed it that often, but yeah, you had to get linked in.
Yeah, and that was just the one thing that, like, for me, I thought was really interesting. That every time they were just so willingly like, "What's he doing? Oh, hold on 1 second." start an IV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like,
It's a
oh,
real
God.
medical procedure. I mean, it takes some practice to like
Yeah,
hit
and
your
right, and
vein
none of
every
these
time.
people are medically trained, and you don't see them like wrapping the.
Yeah,
the
there's
arm
no
to-
rubbing of the
Yeah.
nothing. Just boink.
I would believe
Well,
it if
like-
maybe they had a plug
Move.
in there at all times or something.
Yeah.
The thing
just like
about
go make
the-
stuff.
Yeah.
port.
The needles and the machines is like, even when they were already in the dream, so nothing was real, they kept using those.
Mm.
Which I get that like they needed a device to signal, oh, we're going on to the next one, but it's just like, yeah, but those it's really only those are real the first time.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
you already just like, but I was like, eh.
They
But
didn't
I
have
don't
any
know what the-
biohazard boxes to put the needles in. Were they sharing them? Did everybody
Yeah,
have
so many
diseases?
questions.
Yeah.
So
They
many
all get
questions.
out. They all have hepatitis now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just turns into train spotting at some point.
Yeah, so is it like, are they sharing fluids? Because that's not cool.
Yeah.
You know, is that essentially like a
There's the
dialysis
kiss
machine?
Yeah.
In the middle.
There was that moment though.
Oh, that weird like the kiss me. What? It's where
They
I put the
needed
I
shot.
thought they were
something.
gonna
Yeah.
go.
Like, oh,
That,
Joseph
that was
Gordon-Levitt.
such
Hold
a
on.
weird thing. Well, too, because he's just like, I
Right.
thought I would try.
Yeah.
Like, wow, you're really.
But there was nothing
Snap
at all feminine about this movie for a long time. It was just so drivey that I think at some point they were like, can we just have somebody kiss like just for a second? Just throw
Yeah.
something compassionate into the mix. Instead
That was a
of all this-
studio note.
Yeah.
We need
yeah.
a kiss.
Yeah.
And then too, I feel like, oh well, we have to kiss. Now we have to circle back and have like just one little look where she gives him a look,
She's
and
like,
that's all.
"Oh,
Okay,
that was
now
a
drop
nice
it
kiss."
completely. Yeah.
Your
Does he
third
like
tier dream person is a good kisser, you know. Ooh. I read that her hairstyle in that was a matter of necessity because that's the only time her hair is not down in the movie. It's like pulled back and in a bun, and the reason for it was because in the later scenes when they're sleeping and they're being dragged in anti-gravity, they didn't want to mess around with having to figure out how
right.
her hair was supposed to float. So they were just like, put it in a bun, call it good.
There you
Smart.
go.
Yeah.
That's clever.
Solid choice.
Mhm.
Because that would be a pain.
And Gravity should have done that. Like, didn't Gravity drop the ball with
No, they just shaved her
with
head
hair?
effectively.
I don't remember that.
No,
Sandra
Sandra
Bullock?
Bullock.
She had
Yeah, no,
short
she
hair.
yeah,
Did
she
she
went
have-
in with short hair specifically to avoid the whole like.
She went in with a mohawk.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah,
Big,
like
big
having-
mohawk.
My memory of that
mean-
movie is just her with the same hair as Blindside. Just big Texas hair. Am I wrong?
well, no, because
Yeah.
I noticed that they did that. Now that you brought up, they did the same thing. I noticed it this time watching it that Joseph Gordon-Levitt's hair was like super slicked back,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
concrete, and it's like
And then the other
okay, I
guys
see-
are like
I get it
shaved
now.
heads or close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to it.
So it works.
Like, I get it now. Okay, okay.
It makes sense.
Oh, so now I'm starting to lean on the he's been in a dream since like the second minute of this movie. Sorry about this. So when we were talking about how he's in Mombasa and the guys from the engineering group stood out so completely,
Mhm.
I'm wondering if those are constructs
Mhm.
from his because if you think about when he's in the hotel, like all the constructs are wearing like suits and stuff, and later on, excuse me, as the security and people start showing up, they're all wearing
It's all that
out of place suits.
Yeah. It's possible. Because everybody
Yeah, I
did-
feel like this movie's telling you nothing's what it is.
Yeah.
It's all
Oh yeah,
think
no,
that's
it's
what
all
it
it's all
seems.
just like it's
There you
all
go.
just here's a bunch of ideas. And how do
Trust
we
nothing.
make them continually wrong? It's like, well, let's make these choices. Like, okay, and then that'll make somebody go like, what if? And let's make this choice because that'll make somebody go, oh, what if?
I also read
Start
that
throwing stuff against the wall.
I think Kate Winslet was choice number 1 for the Mal character, but I think she passed on it. Didn't really see herself in the role, but that would have been a different movie.
Yeah, and that's like bringing up too much baggage because didn't they did a movie together?
Titanic.
Another. Sorry,
Didn't they do a movie
Did they do
back
a
in the
movie
day
talking
Yeah,
about?
where
It's
one of
hard
them
to
died? Yeah.
it's hard to imagine Marion
One of them
Cotillard
was a
not.
selfish jerk
liking that
that
part.
let him get on a
On an iceberg.
When there's
raft.
clearly
Yeah.
room on that door.
Did you guys see that MythBusters episode where they like prove that he could get up on that floating door? And James Cameron's like, He had to die. Just he needed to die. Just leave me alone.
You would have figured it out in that situation. I think I could. You're gonna cry. I mean, she's not a big person, so they could have just. He was tiny back then anyway, so they could have just held on.
He was the
to
beast,
each other.
Right? She could have. She seemed stronger than him in that movie.
Well, why did he freeze up before her? Anyways, like everyone was in the water, so why is he the one who had to freeze and die?
But he was submerged.
No, well, but he could have just lifted himself up.
Kill
him in the war later or something.
He was up out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was she the whole time, or did he help her up? I don't remember.
I mean, it was the 20s. So many things could have killed him. We could have gotten there. He didn't have to die in that moment.
It was 2000. It was 1912.
Oh yeah, you're right. It's 1912. So there you go. The Depression could have gotten him. World War One. Anything really. Yeah.
I love that we got to Titanic.
I've only seen that movie one time, and it was not that long ago.
Really?
Oh, really?
I only watched it. Oh yeah, I never watched it at its height of popularity or anything like that, and then finally watched it not that long ago. And I mean, yeah, it's a movie. Whew, it's a ride. It's a lot going on.
I wonder how it's aged because I remember my mom took me to see it when it was in the theaters.
Really?
Yeah, me and my mom went and saw it.
How'd that make you feel?
I was like, I'm in a theater with my mom, and they're in the back of a car having sex.
Yeah, there's boobies.
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely one of those, like, I remember seeing it, and that came on screen. I'm like, can I look, or do I need to move my eyes? What's my mom gonna make me do? Can I look?
Milk duds.
How do I hide this donor?
Can't get this last one out of the box. Yeah.
At least
She's like, it's okay. It's artistic.
My
Watch
Titanic story is unfortunate. I was out of town at a funeral, and everyone's like, "Let's watch a movie." Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, you'll love it. Let's watch a movie. And then we watched Titanic. I was like, the worst idea.
On VHS or at the theater?
No, at the theater.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater while I was attending a funeral. So,
Nice.
yeah,
There you go.
it's like neat.
Yeah.
So
They had it playing during the funeral. That's forte.
No, I think it took like a good. I was thinking like a good
Last
5
will.
to 7 years before I watched Titanic again.
Yeah.
Just because like the natural association of like this sucks.
Yeah.
I don't
Having a
I don't know
TV
if I've-
in the viewing is difficult, but
Yeah.
know if I've ever watched it again. So I'm trying to remember.
I've
I
seen
remember-
parts, and I was like, "This seems campy as hell. Like,
Yeah.
is this watchable?"
he is campy. I think, Brian, if you do watch it again, you should watch it with your mom again
No.
and live stream that. That would be great.
Come on, Mom, let's do it.
Just like we
I
did in
should
the
just
theater.
I should just watch it this week since I'm a bachelor this week. So just me and my one dog.
Really?
Just watch it.
Oh. You got the one dog? She took off with the other?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they flew to Michigan.
Nice. That's kind of fun, though. Have the place to yourself. Are you wearing pants?
I am now.
No.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a pause there. I don't know about that.
Well,
What's
no,
this
because
pants?
I didn't even put clothes on until about 3:00 to take the dog out again, and then I was like, I should maybe shower and stuff, because I am going to be on camera. So yeah, I put on pants for you guys, basically.
Right, that's nice of you.
I love how quickly we all devolve when like the reins are off a little bit.
It's funny.
Did you shower today?
Yeah, I've
know
noticed that we
what?
have this weird thing with the show where it depends upon what the movie is, but some topics will just like. We were almost at 3 hours with Space Force, but a movie that we are all kind of like, yeah, it's a good movie. An hour and 20 in, we're just like, so how about bread?
Yeah, talk more about G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should get a Nick Theater story.
Oh yeah, we do need one of those
Um,
talking guys in the movie theater story.
Oh, right.
Or what? Is there another one of you moving teenagers'
I was
purses?
no, I only moved people's stuff one time.
That only happened once, guys.
I did.
Wink, wink.
So I was at what movie was I watching? I think it was National Treasure 2. And
It's already off to a splendid start.
yeah, and the guy in front of me was on a date.
I thought you were going to say on a rascal, because that would have been good.
No, I think he was
Maybe
on a
wearing
date,
Fez hat.
and the whole time prior to the movie, he was on his phone. So I was like, already just like, buh.
He was already ignoring his date.
Yes, right. And then,
Wow, this
And
guy
you shouldn't drive your
movie
rascal.
started.
Was
in
it Nicolas
text.
Cage making?
and then the movie started, and he started playing Wikipedia guy,
Oh boy.
just like rattling off, like solving all the puzzles in advance and stuff.
Oh, good.
And I just happened to like in between them two. It's like, could you just please keep it down? I can hear everything you're saying. And he was like, whatever, bro. Okay. And then, yeah, I may or may not have dropped my entire thing of popcorn. You know.
On them?
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh yeah.
How have you not gotten beaten up? I mean, I guess he was in a Rascals, but
Well, I think I
He
did it.
preys on the weak.
I think I did it in like a sneeze type thing.
Yeah, right. Oh, accidentally.
Well, because
Like, just some
I'm
of
also
it, you
I
kinda
did
did
this at I did a similar maneuver. We were at a Rockies game,
come
and
on.
I was doing it just to be like a smart ass, but we were up in like the nosebleed seats up at Coors Field, like up in like Mile High Plus type area. And I had a thing at Cracker Jacks, and somebody
course
hit
you
a
did.
home run, and I just stood up and just started waving my arms with the Cracker Jacks, just sent it everywhere.
Well, see, that's fun. That's not mean-spirited.
No,
than a
the popcorn
beer.
was definitely mean spirited because I think I did the sneeze, and yeah, the sneeze and just my
Was your
entire popcorn.
sneeze also going?
I love
Oh, screw
like,
you.
you fake to sneeze just to throw popcorn on this guy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did
And
he
I-
react to that? Was he pretty upset?
I'm trying to remember. I think he stood up and said something, and I think I literally was like,
It was just, I can't see the movie.
Can't see the movie.
I can't see anymore. Could you sit down? Because I think his girl like stormed off because I think she was sick of it too.
She's probably over it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he stood up being a tough
Yeah.
guy, and she stormed off, and then he followed her, and
You
I was
don't-
like, cool. Now they're not talking or in my way.
You don't go to National Treasure with a date and then just rattle off facts. That's generally not a great.
Oh yeah. No,
Great.
and yeah. A lot of my theater stories are just yelling "shut up" or something expletive very early on. It's only been a couple of times in the middle of the movie where I've had to do it, and there's one I'm not proud of, but I yelled at a lady because her kid was talking, and she told me why, and then I was. Well, I
Was it a
in such
medical reason?
might have been,
Yeah.
and my inappropriate response was, "Then why are you sitting in the best seat in the theater?"
Come on.
Yeah,
Valid question, though.
I'm not proud of it, but
Yeah.
I was just like, "Come on."
That's all.
Okay, are there any movie theaters where they have a picture of you behind the counter?
Probably.
Yeah, right.
Hold
Yeah.
on.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
That's a sort of.
I do have some theaters here in Vegas that the people recognize me in a good way because they always ask me like, "How many you see in today?" kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
40.
I get
in
that.
a good way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
right.
Not like they're. Yeah, that's the guy.
Like, keep an eye on him.
Yeah. Talking into their
he's back.
collars. Well, there's a pet peeve in movies. Every time someone's talking on, a secret intercom, they always have to touch their ear. What? Touch their ear, do this sort of thing. Why?
Yeah, to the point where it's such a trope that like
Yeah.
then people go, don't do that, don't put your hand up to your
Well, then
ear.
even they
Right.
have them now where they've got like the little button in their hand and they're like talking into their collar.
Yeah.
Like
Or
you're
like
not
the-
Secret Service
To
agents.
the cuff link.
Well, I like what back in the olden days when you could go to movie theaters. We always would go. We pretty much always go to the ArcLight, and it's always a crapshoot because they always like introduce the movie. There's always someone that walks in,
Mm-hmm.
and the bummer is there are always actors, comedians that are always trying out their bits on
Yep.
the movie audience.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
And it's about 1 in 5 to get one that's actually like good.
Yeah.
You know, and there's
Right.
some that are like completely nervous, and some that just think they're the funniest thing in the world. And I'm like, okay, can you go away now?
Yeah. Moving on.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like when they do that, and then they're trying to treat it like, "How's everyone doing? Are you excited?" And it's like, no, this is a quiet place. Like, don't get me all riled up. I gotta be
Wait,
quiet.
they're
for the
showing
next...
a quiet place? I thought this
Yeah.
was
No,
Trap.
I meant like
I'm in the wrong theater.
it's not like a comedy club where you need people to be like lively and active and talking along. Like this is about to be quiet time. Like don't rile us
Right.
up. Like come in here and pump some chamomile in this place or something. You know, just
Yeah.
settle me with some lavender. Don't get me all fired up for something.
It was the opposite when I used to do the.
Picture? I'll help. Get it
Nick?
started.
I want to come, since I think you and I are the closest to each other. I want to come to Vegas when we can go to movies again. Let's just go see a movie because I want to experience Nick in the movie theater firsthand.
Go to the multiple movie fest.
Yeah,
Do the little marathon.
4 in
Yeah.
a day. Watch him.
yeah. When we can,
people in rascals.
when we can see movies again, we'll do a podcast about a current movie in the theaters, and Nick and I will go
Yeah.
see one together, and then immediately come back to his house and get and do the podcast.
Perfect. That sounds good.
I got room
Take
for you
it
up
here
here.
with you. Room in
Be
the
the
nerd.
gut buddies.
The-
Gut
Well, I
buddies.
think we talked about doing that when we were doing the morgue. We had talked about
like tummy sticks.
like seeing gross about seeing something and then just doing like a round table that we're actually all
Yeah.
like the same place.
yeah, that'd be fun. It'd be fun to do an actual live nerds episode.
Live nerds.
I'd have to
Live
buy some
nerds.
stuff. I mean, we are live,
Oh.
but
Oh
together.
darn! You gotta buy
know,
gear.
buy a
no.
Switchboard.
I mean,
But yeah,
Laptop.
what's the ability? How do we listen and talk? And yeah, right. That's
Yeah.
what I don't know how it works.
There's like, basically you just get a central unit thing. I don't even know what they call them. The sound box thing.
Soundboard.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, soundboard. And yeah, you just got your mics in, but then also you get your looped back in of your guys' voices and your own voice. I feel like you're gonna say something funny, so I was just laughing immediately. Yeah, no, nothing.
I was trying to think of something stupid. Yeah.
Hot box.
Yeah.
This is funny because we really only talked about Inception for about the first hour, and we've
Yeah.
looped back briefly. But it's like if we all liked it, and at least one of us, we don't have at least one of us ranting and raving about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Well, I-
Right.
I mean, we knew we were in trouble because it's a good movie already.
it is a good movie. Yeah.
So and it is a little old. So we would just kind of be beating little dead horse type stuff about poking in the plot holes and stuff like that. So it's tough when an older movie pops up, and then I think this one would have been a little bit more solid to had Tenet officially come out, so we could do like a compare contrast and see like how close, like how out of his own little like box is Nolan getting, or is he just kind of like recycling
Is he
interesting
trapped
ideas?
in his own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that's my concern with Tenet is, he's got an idea that like maybe didn't work for Inception, but so now it's like he's taking those nuggets. He's like, let me flesh those out for this other movie because it feels a lot like if I'm trying to remember the Inception trailer and then seeing Inception, so watching the Tenet trailer and then assuming what Tenet's going to be like, it feels like there's going to be a lot of Looper type stuff potentially, but then also I can't remember what the name. Is it Deja Vu? Literally called Deja Vu with Denzel Washington, where they're trying to solve the bombing on the ferry by he thinks that they're looking into a computer program, but it ends up like they're actually bending light through a wormhole and looking into the past. And like, have you not seen Deja Vu? Oh man,
I've seen it
man.
a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Oh.
I did see it.
Well,
Yeah.
Eric had the look on the face of like, must.
Right.
watching
As
this
soon
right
as I'm
now.
done with
Even
episode
that hasn't
103,
been a G.I. Joe episode.
must be
Yeah,
good.
no, Deja Vu's a pretty solid movie as well. But I'm wondering if like that, because it's obviously, we'll just try to pre-guess from the trailer. So it's an
Like
elite
Deja Vu.
organization that has some sort of technology that's not commercially available, that is using it to either undo something or prevent something. And he has to be recruited, but it looks like something along the lines of like he has to be dead or something like that in order for it to work, because he's now out of syncing with time. And then for some reason, Cedric Diggory is in it too. Like fat Robert Pattinson's in it as like his mentor, which that's going to turn into a getting deceived by your trainer type thing.
Like a Ra's al Ghul sort of situation.
Yeah. So that's a kind of like, I do want to see it because like Inception, even if you could poke holes in it, visually it's still like awesome. So he's got you there. So I think I have a feeling Tenet's going to be like this too.
Is it Tenant or Tenet?
Tenet. It's supposed to be a palindrome. Tenet.
Gotcha. Because I was going to try to make a David Tennant
joke,
joke.
was going to be 10 ETs.
Also that. See, it's like
phone home. I also aliens.
They're all just like, me too. I would like to phone home. And
oh, are we phoning home,
we
guys?
all-
I'm gonna get in on the phoning home, please.
Number 10's taking a leak. They're like, do you want to phone home in a minute?
I can't go with your talking.
He says.
I would watch a movie with 10 ETs. Sounds amazing.
Wasn't that episode 1?
Just trashing houses. Like, yeah, people keep taking them in. They're just trashing homes. People are like, send them back.
They're like extra large gremlins.
Trying to eat
They
cats.
keep dressing up like old ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
Pearl, giant pearls.
I love that. They're trying to take him out trick-or-treating. It's not going well. That's pretty much the whole movie.
That would actually be a really funny alien invasion movie where it's like if like Floribama invaded a planet. They're not the best alien invaders. They're just kind of like, we were really unprepared for this, but we wanted to be first.
Everyone always assumes that in movies, like everything in a movie is like the best of the best, but no one ever shows like the Inception where the team just, they're so-so. They're not great. They kill people on accident because they give them too much of the drug. It's like, oh, or the ETs just kind of suck at invading.
Well, I think like the movie where the team is not like the best, but they kind of just stumble through it is that movie Six Underground.
Oh yeah, I liked that movie. I really enjoyed it.
That's a movie we could maybe argue about.
Yeah. I did enjoy it though.
It was okay, but
I get it from like a filmmaker watching it, going, "Whoa, yeah."
Well, I think what's his name, Deadpool. He's just delightful, and he's entertaining.
Ryan Reynolds is great.
Yeah, and everything. And seeing
I
think
he's just Deadpool now. I think he dropped the right.
But it's like Brian's
Deadpool
thing.
and Wolverine.
If something catches you early and takes you out of it immediately, it's hard to get back in.
Yeah.
And in Six Underground, Dave Franco has like a mystery hat. Like all of a sudden it's on his head, then it's not on his head, then it's on his head, then it's not on his head, then it's backwards on his head, then it's a different hat entirely, and then he gets a thing through the face.
Then,
that was great.
Death by forklift.
Yeah, that's good. I liked it.
But like that pulled me out immediately because like, wow, this car chase is great. Wait, is he wearing a hat? Oh wait, where'd the hat go? Wait, now the window's down? Wait, now the hat's back? Wait, that's a different hat. I was just like, I'm out. Damn it, I can't.
See, I had
You
no
really need to watch
expectations.
a movie with Nico. I hope you just do this. Anything. Yeah, it's wonderful.
I'm still stuck on Ryan Reynolds is just Deadpool now. So like every time he comes to a movie, he just shows up in the suit.
Yeah.
Like
He's just always
like, no,
narrating.
Yeah. Well, he's like, no, that's not the costume for this movie. I'm like, I know, but like,
Doesn't matter.
like I just wear it.
This is now
like, this is custom.
Deadpool in space.
Yeah.
I paid a lot for
in it,
this.
you can't take it back.
I just think
like, I
going
had
into films with no expectation is why I enjoy movies so often, because I don't have expectation. And also for some reason in my mind, I'm watching the movie with still thinking that Netflix doesn't make good movies. So I was like, it's going to be fun. Like I just enjoyed it. Yeah. I didn't take it seriously. I was just like, oh, okay, it's a Michael Bay movie that Netflix made. I mean, how much money could they spend on it? Well, apparently a lot.
Oh.
Apparently all of it.
So my friend's out here. He was like guessing. He's just like, oh, I would have just blown up what are like some of those hypercars, supercars, just like Bugattis. Like, I just blow up 10 Bugattis in one shot and go for it.
Just waste the money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Literally light $1 million on fire.
Yeah.
Blow up 10 Bugattis.
Basically. I've always wondered that too. I don't know the secret. Do you guys? I mean, I don't know how do they do that with cars, like especially expensive cars? Do they get a trash one? Do they build one? And then, because I mean, you're not really in a James Bond movie wrecking, $100,000
Yeah, it might
Mercedes.
just be a body put onto something else. I don't know what.
Yeah.
One of the Transformers, there was a thing where they had rented a some crazy expensive car, and it kind of got scratched, and there was a little bit of a freak out.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they're straight up destroying things, because they have multiples to get the shot right.
I was an extra on that show Dirt, that Courtney Cox show, that I think it was TBS or TNT or something like that. But we shot
just before Cougar Squad.
Yeah, it was just before Cougar Squad, Cougarville.
Cougar Town.
Yes,
Cooterville.
Cougar Town, starring Ryan Reynolds. But they had a Maybach, so there was a scene where we were at a movie studio after a movie premiere, and I was like a security guard, and the characters were going to get into like a Maybach and
That's believable.
And who, me as a security guard? Yeah. I was wearing my my JCPenney suit from high school, so I looked pretty good. Like my Morgan Heisinger's suit for real. Like off the rack.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah.
Give you wardrobe?
No. As extras, unless you're doing a period piece, you typically bring. Actually, for everything, you bring your own wardrobe. 99 out of 100 times you show up on set for even like a commercial, and they're like, "We'll bring stuff."
I need to see this.
Titanic. Hey, just put some tape over your Jordans. It's fine. No one will know.
Is that guy wearing Jordans with gaff tape on them? So they had this Maybach and then another like a Mercedes, something like a really expensive convertible, and the stunt guys didn't show up that day or something, so they legitimately were like, any of you guys know how to drive a car?
Oh, God.
Yeah. And they pulled like two extras. No, they had an extra drive the Maybach, and they had one of the actors. They were just like, well, we'll just have him drive away in his own car. So they did that. And they have him in this like $100,000 car, like peeling out, because that was what he was supposed to do. Because he's drunk. And so they just do that. But I think the reason they did that is because it was the last day of shooting before the writer's strike. And so they were just like, we have to get the shot. We don't care. We'll pay for it if it screws up, kind of thing. But I had to get into the Maybach because they needed a head, like a body in there, like not an actor, but they needed somebody's body in there to pretend I was the actor. So I got in there with this kid. I don't even know how old he was. And he was playing like an usher in the scene before. And I was like,
both on like sitting on phone books.
Yeah.
His sleeves are like hanging.
I just remember he was like super skinny, like this really skinny dude in the like an usher vest, and like a tuxedo shirt, and just drive. And I was just like, dude, are you nervous? He goes, yeah, I think this car's like $300,000. And I was like, yeah, I think so too. All right, well, let's go. Yeah, it was cool.
As he's jiggling it. Wait, is this a manual?
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I was an extra one day. I did it one day, and it was so boring. I was an extra on that. Remember that show Hung? It was the HBO show.
Thomas Jane.
Yeah, and it was
Thomas
it was
Jane.
at Pickwick in Burbank, the ice rink, and I was I was in the why can't I say this word? The little stand, and they were
concessions.
The scene was concession stand, and it was like. Thomas Jane was up, like, he was getting a hot chocolate, and basically like two women like he had like been whored out to come up and confront him, and he's just like trying to get away, and so basically just walked back and forth with hot chocolate. But Thomas Jane was like, I need the hot chocolate to be like super hot, because he was supposed to take a drink, and he was supposed to make a face like he gets. I was like, no, you got to make it hotter, and I'm like, I
don't actually work here, bro.
Yeah, I don't know how to work this thing.
All
like,
fake.
like these machines don't turn on. Like there's a prop guy handing me these every time they say roll camera. Like I don't know.
That's amazing.
And they told you to act like it's hotter. So I don't know what.
Yeah.
I was like,
Tom
dude,
Jane.
I don't actually. I think I actually said I was like I was like, these are just getting handed to me. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, you're trying to shoot a winter scene. It's 75 degrees out. Like, we're not going to see your breath, man. That's not how this works.
Well, one of the very first jobs that I ever did in film, I was a PA on that movie North Country with Charlize Theron and Frances McDormand. Yeah, and it shot in it was when I was living in Minnesota. It was like probably like right after I graduated college, and they were hiring people to be PAs and extras, and it shot in like I don't know what town. It's like called like International Falls or something like that, like one of the coldest cities in America.
International Balls.
International Fall.
Oh.
International Falls.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was gonna make a Testes joke, but I'll skip it. But anyways, so I go up there and I'm a PA, so I'm just kind of in charge of like this group. It's in a hockey rink also. There's a scene where Sean Bean is watching a game and they're like having this reaction to this hockey game that's going on, and so I have to direct the crowd and it's like, okay, you get up, count to 5, and then you get up, and you get up, sort of thing. So it looks like people are moving. We shot all day, like 12 hours. And it was everyone from the town was the extra because it was to fill this hockey rink like it was some big game. But everybody there treated it like they were actually at a hockey game. So when all the extras left, they just like threw their trash on the ground. So the place was like completely covered in like popcorn and soda and just like all kinds of stuff. So I spent like the next 4 hours with the other PAs like cleaning it up
After a 12-hour shoot.
yeah, exactly. So we had to make an announcement on day 2 of the shoot. Be like, so this isn't a real hockey game and we're in a movie, so you got to take your popcorn and stuff with you.
Please don't be an asshole.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was asked at one point in time, because the scene was ready, it was lit, it was ready to go, and you're on a radio, and they're like, does anyone have eyes on Charlize? And of course, I'm unfortunately the guy who was standing like right next to her, and they're like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm near her. They're like, okay, tell her that we need her on set. And
God.
I pooped myself, I peed myself, and then I threw up, and then I said, Miss Darren, you're needed on set. And she's like, thank you. And in my mind, she's like 7'9" to me, you know, because at that moment you're just like this little like kid and was like, Charlie's Darren.
I have a
No, Sissy Spacek was in the movie and she looked like E.T. Like she was wearing a big coat.
E.T. with the pearls.
I had to hold the door
Charlize is
for
actually
her.
really nice.
Oh, she was super sweet. Yeah, super nice.
I'm gonna make a pun. I
So is Sean
apologize,
Bean.
but
So is
I'll
Sean
never
Bean.
apologize for puns.
did he die in the movie?
No, not in this one. Well, maybe he did. I don't know.
But
Post-credits scene.
Yeah.
the shittiest job I ever had as a PA was we were at this house, and I remember it was a puppet commercial for American Express, and they were shooting out in the front yard of this house. Well, they had determined, that whoever lived there let their dog just pinch loaves in the front yard, and they didn't clean it up. So
Nice.
me and the other PA had to go around with the little bags and pick up like all the poo we could find.
Yeah.
And that was how I
Months
started.
of food.
That was how I started my day. I got there and we did that for like an hour and like, hey, you guys need to set up the coffee and everything.
Right.
So,
don't forget that.
Picked up poo for an hour, set up the coffee and sending the crafty. I washed my hands, don't worry. And then, and this like another hour picking up all the poo. And then still at one point, I think it was the DP or someone still stepped in some and we still got yelled at. And I'm like,
how is that dog pooping so much?
I think they'd lived there for a
90
while.
dogs.
Yeah.
And just
Maybe it wasn't just the dog.
Yeah.
maybe.
It was sort of a parasite
family
situation.
But I think that was one of my last PA gigs because that one I was like, no,
Yeah. After that,
this sucks.
no
This is
thanks.
awful.
Well, we
Yeah.
made PAs make fake cocaine for us. So
Yes, we did.
yeah, you ask your
Well,
PAs to
that's
do
like
a lot
a
of
fucking
things.
thing.
Yeah,
And
it was
made
just
Alex-
vitamin D pills.
And then made Alex snort a lot of it.
Yeah. That one part by the end of that scene we were shooting, Alex was just like, I think I got one more in me, and that's it.
Yeah.
It was just like
Yeah.
too much vitamin D. We're good. Yeah. But the PA stuff, I mean, it's a rite of passage in
Yeah.
Hollywood. It's something you have to do, but I ended it as soon as I possibly could, and I enjoyed the extra stuff. You got paid the same, but you also got to, in a way, learn more because when you're an extra, you can kind of sneak around and just kind of be around, especially if there's like wardrobe involved. You're not going to like accidentally be in a shot or whatever. So that was kind of cool to do that kind of a thing.
Fly on a wall.
Yeah. And
You
you didn't have
know, we were-
responsibility.
Right.
We're talking about the Guardian and being on set. I think the most stressful part, ironically, of that shoot for me was well, other than when I went to pick up the smoke machine and I texted you and I think it was something like, I'm going to murder everyone.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I was like, just drive around the block. You'll be good.
But there's that same day we were shooting the party scene, and I was like giving everybody money for like their parking and everything.
Yeah.
And it was just like every 5 minutes, like, oh, I need more, put more money in or whatever. Or it's like, oh, we got to park the van, or it was like the guy that was helping Eric was like being super crazy about his parking, and it's like, or he would hand me his receipt, and we were getting ready to roll his receipt for parking, and I was like, we were getting ready to roll. I was like, okay, yeah, remind me at the end of the day when we wrap, I'll pay you. And then he proceeded to remind me every 30 minutes,
just in case,
just
like $15,
I think at one point I was like, dude, we paid a lot of money to be in this space today, and we don't really have a lot of time to shoot this big thing. I've got all these people here who also want their parking paid for. So I need you to cut me some slack.
Yeah, just relax for a minute. Yeah. That was a hectic day, man. Shooting downtown, though, is never a good idea when you have a lot of extras and stuff like that. So we learned something from that. It was just like, we got 30 people who were trying to park downtown near a loft. Yeah, it was rough, but
Yikes.
We could have gone broke just from paying for everyone's parking.
It's like, I'm gonna need you guys to take the train.
Yeah.
I'll have to look. I didn't see how
y'all.
much I actually spent on parking that day.
Yeah.
I remember I went to the ATM like I think that morning or the day before and just got out so much cash because I knew I was just going to be like forking it over like crazy.
Yeah.
I was even making it rain for parking.
We had Subway sandwiches that day. That was great. Good crafty. It was those big Subway sandwich
Party
platter
sub
things. Yeah, the party sub. But it was cut up already.
Oh, that's
I think
you all just didn't just like pick it up at the same time.
Everyone take a bite.
Everyone take a bite.
Like a
and pass
ski
it.
shot.
Start
Yep.
Except you're in LA, so half of them are like,
The person in the middle is a vegetarian. Yeah, I was like, just pick the salami out, I guess, with your teeth.
And
the other
full cut
thing-
trio.
Don't drop it.
The other thing about that day that I'm not proud of, but in the moment, I was like, yes, I'm so doing it. I was pulling up when I think I called you or someone. I was like, hey, I need a PA to come down and park my car for me.
Yeah.
So I was like, on this production, I'm somewhat of a big deal, and I actually have other things to do besides parking cars. So can someone please park my car for me?
Felt good. Yeah.
It kind of did.
I gotta get used to this power.
Yeah.
Drunk on the power.
It's fun to be the boss sometimes, but yeah, other times. I remember I rolled into the first day of shooting because we rented a green screen studio to shoot some stuff because there was a car scene. And so we thought, hey, let's do green screen. How hard could that be? Apparently hard, but especially if, well, anyways. So we had this car and we had to put it up on lifts and push it in and yada, yada. But I pulled up in Brian's Mini Cooper at the time. And I remember like rolling in and the guy who like owned the studio was like standing there. And the way that he looked at me was like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here? So I got out of the car and I was like, hey, can I park? I kind of like played like, can I park here? And he was like, no, man, there's like a production. And I was like, can I just leave it here for just a second? And he goes, no. And I was like, I'm just kidding, dude. I'm the co-director. Like, relax. Like, why are you so severe, man? Like, how many people are rolling up in a Mini Cooper full of sandwiches who aren't a part of a set or a part of a shoot that day? Because it was just sandwiches in there.
I think he was a super nice guy, and we got for everything we got there, like basically gave it to us. Like,
yeah,
we got the stage for the day and the makeup room, and it was pretty decent for us, and we got full run of the place. But I'm pretty sure like he was hovering over us all day because like I'm pretty sure he regretted.
Yeah, well,
letting us have it for that cheap.
Yeah, well, the amount of grip and camera gear that we got for free was just out of control. We probably rented $50,000 worth of stuff for $0.
Nice.
Did you say it was for a cancer foundation or something?
Yeah, it said the Guardian. It's a research center.
Well, the funny thing is that
it worked.
The most expensive part of the production was the stupid car.
Mm-hmm.
That was
our set
$400.
piece.
Yeah, that was $400 a day, and we had 2 cinema cameras and a full ass grip truck, and I paid less than $1,000 for all of that.
Yeah. It's impressive.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the old war stories. Now let's talk about our experience with Drumstick Man. And go.
Yeah.
No grip.
So how I showed up, and you're like, okay, the camera, and are there batteries for this? I was like, oh no, I didn't bring any batteries.
Oh man, no batteries for the camera, so I think we ran an extension cord from my dad's garage. Yeah, and we just ran it out. Yeah, like I guess we're shooting this right here.
Something, I was always plugged in, so I was like, oh yeah,
yeah, which works.
And I had no part in this movie. I just got to enjoy the final product.
You helped edit a little bit, didn't you? I feel like I made you help me with that sound or something. Yeah, I was like, Brian, help, because I remember you.
No, I remember now because you like, can you help me with the sound on this? And you just gave me like the sequence, and you told me, or I may have just done it because that's who I was at the time. I made a few picture changes, and gave it back to you.
They're better,
and you're like, oh great. And then later, like the only thing I used that I did was a sound. I'm like, okay, all right, fair enough.
It may be just because it never synced. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do Drumstick Man, but like a high quality version of it. That would be great.
No. It's got way too much charm.
Yeah. Overcalling it.
I just like, what's like the line you there? You were like, unhand me.
Unhand me. Yeah. Yeah.
The first time I watched that, I'm pretty sure I fell out of my chair laughing.
Good.
Yeah.
Even the first one I watched, and it was just me like walking down the street or the road,
drumming,
just looking like a complete jackass. My long legs. I'm just like.
By now, people are used to me specifically being in town with a camera everywhere, so they're used to it. But that day, we got the cops called on us. Because
there's like that white pickup that drives by like 9 times.
Yeah, it's hilarious because I don't know what it is about a guy with a camera that makes everybody weirded out. Or it might have been Eric in a devil costume. Yeah, it might have been that too. But we were setting up a shot, and the sheriff's car comes by, and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" I was like, "Oh, we're just making a movie." And I mean, it was all a good conversation, but there had been somebody kind of parked, like that white truck had been kind of parked for a little too long for a minute there. So I don't know if he thought we were illegally surveying or what the deal was, but yeah, it was pretty hilarious.
Something about us just being on the road, people were maybe like, what's going on? Why are they buying? Yeah. Why are they there? Yeah. If we were just on your pavement, then
it might have been fine. But nowadays everyone's used to it, which is good and bad.
That's really funny.
Like, oh, it's that guy Matt with his camera
again. Matt with his camera again. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. Shooting more random stuff. Like the other day, I was over on the corner because I'm doing a lens comparison. So I was shooting the steeple of the Catholic Church with like the 2 different lenses because I was going to compare like the color contrast and stuff like that for a video coming up. And I'm just sitting there like in the middle of the street shooting. Yeah, and people are just like, just go around him. It's just ignore him. You gotta get the shot though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the street. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, it's Fort Morgan.
Yeah. No, just go around. Well, so
the streets are massive.
We seem to have a really good time talking about what we want to do next time, and I'm always like, we should have been rolling. So we're just gonna keep on rolling with the show while we discuss what's next week.
Peek the curtain.
Yeah, because we do usually have like a sort of a roadmap where we want to go, but the last couple of weeks we've been kind of shooting from the hip, which has been kind of fun. It's been nice to revisit things like Inception that I haven't seen in a lot of years. But anything piqued our interest?
We talked about Independence Day 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're a little out of sync timing wise for actual 4th of July, but
no, that sounds good. Let's stick with that.
All right.
Yeah.
The ID.
You
want to do 1 and 2?
What's that?
Do you want to do like a
twofer?
Oh yeah, I'd be down for that. Like we do with Blade Runner, if we just do both Independence Day movies, are we okay with that?
Sure.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah, we rewatched. I sent the video on the 4th. Being socially responsible, we were socially distant, so we did watch ID4, which is funny because it's not the fourth movie, but it's
Right,
it's
that's why it's
commonly
confusing.
known as ID4 now. We watched that. We watched Hamilton on Disney Plus,
Nice.
that's a whole story that I can't share, but we only made it halfway through. And then
because the electricity went out.
yep, the electricity. It's long and it has an intermission, and we did not plan for the 3.5 hours.
Right.
We were like, oh, it's gonna be like an hour and some change. So we started like way too late, and then it is like intermission. We're like, it's 11:30. Like, whoops.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we watched. Oddly enough, we watched Avatar again, which that one got a bunch of junk when it came out and post one, but I love that movie. I think it's super good. And then we started watching. I could say this. Started watching Schitt's Creek.
Oh yeah.
It's a good show. It's a really good show.
It's a good show. I have noticed that I almost shouldn't watch like 9 of them in a row because it starts to. I want to drown Catherine O'Hara's character a couple times. And then the other ones,
Alexis.
yeah, I like that. Her I don't know where it's from accent is nuts, or her enunciation sometimes is crazy. But I noticed that the bickering between Alexis and David almost gets so much to the point that we get a little snippy with each other.
Ah.
Oh yeah, just because
It leads out into the real world.
yeah, right. So something kind of nuggets into real life, and then we fall into it. But like, we could talk about that show if we want at some point too, because that is a great idea, just episodically. And then it's funny too because I don't know if Eugene Levy's son Daniel has been classically trained as an actor, or he just had the idea with his dad. And they're like, make this movie. Who do you want to cast? Well, me, obviously, if that's how the conversation went. Because there's a lot of times where the camera's on him, and I can't tell if he's trying to be schmarmy or he's actually like on the verge of breaking, and they just kept rolling the camera.
Yeah.
Because you could tell like
I've only
like
seen
trying
it a
to,
couple
like,
of times, a
trying
couple
to chew
episodes,
it
but
back,
yeah,
like-
it's a great relationship, like actor to actor.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, then even what's her name, Emily Hampshire, who plays the Stevie, who plays the motel owner and like the only employee. For the longest time, I was like, why is she so familiar? And I have not seen anything that she's in, but I think it's because she's a combination of Taryn Manning, who plays Pentucky on Orange is the New Black, and the girl from Napoleon Dynamite, who has like the side ponytail and the photography business. But like those two people, but she looks so much like Taryn Manning, and
Is
I
she
don't
their
think they're
kid?
related. Right.
I thought you were gonna say she looks like E.T. And we're like, well, yeah, that's why. It's
Yeah. Oh no, that's Catherine O'Hara. Well,
yeah, right.
She's having a rough go.
You know,
But yeah, no, that show's super good.
I was gonna say too. When we were talking about Inception, we were talking about not knowing the difference if you're in a dream or not, and sort of like that moment of waking. You know, when you're sort of like awake but asleep. Last night I stayed at this hotel, which that's just again another whole story about this hotel I had to stay at because I shot a wedding in Aspen, and the bride and groom part of the package was they're going to get me a room, so I didn't have to drive back at 10 p.m. or whatever. Anyways, long story short, the hotel was not awesome, and like around midnight, I woke up thinking that I was throwing up, but it was someone in the hall. Making
Actually throwing.
but they were making throwy up noises like rhythmically every 5 seconds. So it was like this noise, and then so it was like an alarm clock. So I didn't know if my alarm clock was going off or if I was throwing up or what was happening. And then eventually I heard them open their door, go into the room, got quiet. I fell asleep again, and I woke up again to the same noise, but right after someone had knocked on the door, and I'm presuming someone from front desk or whatever. But in a hotel, and especially this one with the thinnest walls on earth, I thought they were knocking on my door. And so I shot up out of bed thinking, who's here? Throw-up man is here to get me. And then the dude's throwing up again, and it was just like, what is going on in this place? Like, I almost left then. I was just like, if I leave now, I get to Fort Morgan at 4:30 in the morning. All right, let's do this. Yeah, it was brutal, but it was sort of my Inception moment. I got kicked twice. Didn't get kicked up, though. It was just kicked.
Hard kicks.
Yeah, hard kicks to the groin.
How far is Aspen?
To the ear groin.
4.5 hours.
Yikes.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't a great idea on my part. Not the best business decision because I also got a rock to the windshield, so now I have a cracked windshield. That'll probably, most of the wedding will pay for that, so great. I think hashtag no more weddings, which is fine because I don't have any more this year anyway, so I think I just won't do any more.
Not too many weddings this year.
No, not too many. And they're just annoying because they're all like, everyone's acting like this is the last time they're going to be doing this. That's the thing that's the most annoying about it is like, I commit to you. It's like, why is everyone lying? Why does everyone get dressed up to go watch two people lie to each other? Why do we do this?
Do you like make audible?
Yeah, it's usually like, do you? And they're like, I do, and then I go, ugh.
Yeah, right.
So you can hear it in the audio of the wedding film of me just going, ugh. Especially young weddings when they're like 21, 22, and they're like, I commit to you, my best friend. It's like, you are gonna hate the balls off of this person in like 10 years. Trust me, if even you get that far.
Is it when they start with, we wrote our own vows? The camera dips like,
yeah, you can see me slumping. Like, ugh.
It's like you commit until one of you cheats or just decide you're not into it anymore, and then you'll say, I'm never getting married again, and then you'll get married again a couple years after that.
Yeah, the person you are when you're 21 and the person you are when you're 31 is not the same person.
Very different.
And like
Very different.
Your best friends are going to change. Well, not in our case, I guess. We're all technically married, but to each other. But it helps that we don't live in the same city. So
yeah, right.
yeah. But it is fun. It is funny to sit there and just watch everyone be like so excited over something that's just not going to last. That's hilarious.
Well, just see all the money thrown at it too.
Yeah.
Threw a lot of money at this thing. What could you have spent this on instead of this?
For sure. It's a good thing. It's a good thing I'm not doing any more weddings because this wouldn't be best propaganda for my business. But that's why I like businesses. I like doing videos for businesses because they're trying, man. They want to stick around. Like they want to like go at it. Like I've already had to re-edit a wedding video. I won't go into the details why. It wasn't because they broke up, but as other things happened.
Is it because you had
within
kissing cousins?
Yeah. Yeah, they were related before they got married, but they didn't tell anybody. No, it was just, other things happened within the family dynamic, and so they wanted me to edit people out. So that's where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I'm good.
Now you're doing stuff you weren't signed up for.
Yeah.
I can't imagine getting cutting notes from Bridezilla, like for her wedding video.
So this is great though. So we're at this wedding, and so it's a childhood friend of ours, of Nick and Eric and I, who's the wedding photographer. And so one of the bridal parties person told the photographer, because we're in this beautiful part of Aspen where it's just picturesque, and there's like these beautiful mountains and these meadows. It's perfect for wedding pictures. It's perfect for pictures in general. I mean, there was like
no bad views.
Yeah, tons of like workout girls taking Instagram pictures. So it's just great place for that. But this lady
you just secretly take pictures of them.
Yeah.
Telephone.
No.
Are you using that for the shoot? I'm just seeing if it'll work.
Just checking it out. But this lady actually walked over to the photographer and said, "You're getting the mountains in the shot, right?" Like that's like what you deal with at weddings, like where they're gonna walk up to a professional photographer and be like, just making sure that you're getting the mountains in these wedding pictures. Oh, you mean?
Is that why you did it here?
Yeah. Right. No, we're shooting real tight.
We're just
basically
doing
headshots
the whole time.
Yeah.
This could be anywhere. I just want you to know.
That's weddings. Weddings, like I'm down for a business being picky because for one, they pay a lot more, and they're
they got a brand.
They've got a message. Yeah, they've got a message.
Yeah.
We're not making memories for them.
Not like it's not emotional.
That always made me laugh watching And it's one of the reasons we didn't get a videographer for our wedding is because they don't know us. So contextually, they're just filming stuff, but they might spend like 45 minutes on the uncle no one likes. And then that's your video. That's your wedding
Exactly.
video,
And that's what happens.
Like, oh my God, get off.
Or
like,
on the prominent family
the
member who you think is going to be in the video forever and then ends up not being. So,
or
that
it's
kind of
like
thing.
somebody like creatively is like, oh, well, that guy's having a lot of fun. They definitely want me to video that guy. And then you find out later that it's like drunk uncle. You're like, no, thanks for 45 minutes of my
Oh, I thought that was his wife. Was not. Yeah.
Right. That's the kind of thing that like we nixed it right away. Like we were like, photos, yes, because something you work around, but like any sort of like video, like
You got to have less creepy uncles in your family, I guess.
Well, no, just because they don't know you. That's the thing. They don't know you. They don't have the context, so they're just filming whatever is moving, which I know sounds really mean, but like they're filming the action.
Yeah.
And they don't have any context.
Well, that's what I did on this one.
I'm still stuck on Matt's perfect description of a wedding. People get dressed up and pay all kinds of money just to get in front of all their friends who are also dressed up just to lie to each other. It's like the perfect description of a wedding. That's like so my thing. It's so pessimistic and dark.
Yeah.
I friggin' love it.
Or at the at best, stretching the truth. Because you're gonna get get real tired of the person eventually.
I mean, come on now.
See, there you go. Yeah.
What did you say?
Most brides wear white.
Like I said, most brides wear white. Let's be honest.
Well, that white could mean multiple things. So.
I bet it does.
What other things? I'd love to know. Let's run down the list of other things that it could mean.
So fun wedding story. We have another high school friend who, in our small town, was known as being very friendly. We'll go with that.
Not white dress. I mean, not. No,
yeah. So just being friendly. Just a very popular person. Lots of friends. So at their wedding, they did a gag where all of the groomsmen just went and bought a bunch of like pre-cut keys. And so they made a speech during the best man speech. He's like, now, she's a 10 woman. So fellas, we're going to need those keys back. And there was probably 200 something keys.
Funny.
So like basically every guy at the reception gets up and then like gives her back her house, like a key to her door. And then I guess they must have worked it out because then later they were like, wait a minute, ladies. And then like the sweetest little old like 85-year-old granny gets up and like
nice. That's funny. That's smart
for the group. Super funny, but yeah, it was just like oh,
that's kind of a fun wedding.
Means things.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
less lying, at least.
Yeah, a little bit less. No weddings this year.
Yeah, just embrace it.
Yeah. Did we get any comments? Nope.
Just me.
Once again, the only comment in our YouTube is Nick. I really gotta be better at promoting this stuff. I gotta get on that.
I think
we should probably all get on.
I'm horrible.
It's
obviously.
I mean, it's tough. I think post it out there. The numbers fluxed. It went from it was up to 5 or 6. Right.
Yeah.
On YouTube. I do know that we have people that watch on Facebook.
Yeah.
As well.
Well, I'm gonna start doing. I think I'm gonna start doing some paid ads. Because I think that'd be cool. Okay. Get it out there, and people maybe will encounter us. On Facebook. I think Facebook's where a lot of this will live, so be cool. Yeah. And then I got to start putting up our audio versions also probably on Facebook just for people who want to listen to it there, but yeah.
Yeah. I listen to it on Spotify. Like I said, when I run, it's good stuff to listen to.
Yeah, we got like almost $1 in our Anchor account.
Yeah.
So.
Sweet.
What do you guys want to do with it? You want to cut that bean in four pieces? Or
yeah, if you could shoot me how much does it cost to ship a quarter?
It costs exactly 32 cents.
Don't fizzle.
I'll PayPal you guys a quarter each if that's what it takes.
Nice.
Yeah.
Put it in the soundboard fund.
The what?
Put it in the soundboard
yes.
fund.
Yeah, definitely.
The Heary box.
Yeah. The listening boxy.
The listening boxy.
Well, speaking of listening, thank you everybody who is listening and who did listen. Find us on Apple
will listen.
Podcasts,
In the
future
Spotify.
listen.
Yep. And you can watch us on the YouTube and on the Facebook. I didn't do Twitch tonight. I couldn't figure it out. I've done it a few times, and I couldn't figure out how to rename our podcast. I was like, it's for gamers anyway. Maybe when we've got a bigger audience, we'll switch over there and try to pick that up. But
well, that one's more dedicated. Like if we wanted to have 100% interaction with people,
right?
That's what Twitch would be good for. Like if we were doing a live Q&A or something, or like an AMA, something like that. We could do that, but Twitch isn't the platform for just like four dudes chit chatting.
Yeah, that's true. All right, folks, thanks for listening. We'll see you next week with Independence Days.
Resurgence.
I forgot I gotta push stop. Stop recording.